Welcome, Wapham crew, guys, gals, ghouls, and otherworldly beings. Let's climb aboard the mothership, secure our tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a Rocky Mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. I'm your ghostess with the mostest, TessaTNT, and I am broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, and welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Welcome to my Mile High Clubhouse. It's an honor and a pleasure and a privilege to have you here and to be able to hang out with you on the airwaves tonight. If you want to listen in your free time, whether you're working it, or working out, please feel free to find me on Spreaker.com under We Are Paradox Media, and basically wherever else you find and listen to your broadcasts and podcasts. Don't forget to mosey on over to our YouTube channel where you can subscribe, please, and then like any video that you've watched or listened to. Leave me any comments, whether good or bad, and also let me know about guests that you'd like me to have on the podcast, and I will do my best to get them on here. So tonight we're doing Reddit creepy stuff, scary stuff, different things than usual. So this first one is creepy encounters. It's looking pretty darn good. The first one is by Street Psychology 235, and she says, "Creepy guy at the mall." It's Halloween week. I'm super excited. I don't know about you guys, but we're planning on doing a show on Halloween, aka Friday, so that should be cool. You know, we got Chris Garcia and his old lady coming on over, and I don't know who else we're gonna have in. I'm gonna try to get Mia, but she might be busy. But we'll see what happens. We might even open the lines on StreamYard and allow you guys to come on too. That would be so cool, just to hang out with you guys, don't you think? All right, so creepy guy at the mall. A couple of days ago, I, 20 female, was at the mall, and this guy came up to me and asked, "Why am I at the mall? What's my name? What school I go to, if I'm alone?" I lied and whatever, and he offered to buy me makeup, and I said no and tried to walk away. He kept insisting, and I said fine and let him follow me. I know there's security at the store. The entire way to the store, he was touchy and kept trying to be as close to me as possible. Once in the store, I told him he needs to piss off and I don't want him buying me anything. He said he will take me out to lunch somewhere, then grab me and try to forcibly drag me out the makeup store. I politely told him if he doesn't stop touching me and he doesn't leave, I'm going to scream and hurt him. I didn't want to make a scene. He eventually left, and I waited a bit before going home. I was shaken and didn't think to tell security. I just wanted to go home. Also, this encounter was in front of a security guard, and this guy did nothing. Creepy as hell, and he was insanely insistent as well. Sorry, but middle-aged men don't buy young girls stuff without further intentions. True that, sister. You would be expected to provide something more. Quirky Toe 7092 said, "In the future, don't be polite about it and don't be afraid of making a scene. If you have to start screaming for help, do it. No one has the right to touch you without consent. Maybe invest in a panic alarm or some pepper spray." It's funny because for some reason that reminded me of when my sister and I went on our cruise to Mexico a couple years ago, and this guy was just all up on her and wouldn't quit touching her and stuff, and he was just being super creepy. And we asked him to stop. We told him to stop. He wouldn't. And I just had enough of it. And I was like, look, if you don't stop touching my sister, I'm going to break your arm off and I'm going to shove it up your ass. And needless to say, he didn't even talk to us for the rest of the trip. So, yeah, don't put up with that, whether you're a guy or a girl. That's your space. Protect your space. All right. Holiday quantity 856. I ended it after 3 dates and he's talking about love and wrote a song about me. I FaceTimed a guy last Tuesday. We went out last Thursday and I ended it after our 3rd date a couple days ago, Wednesday. So really we only knew each other for less than a week. Things moved kind of fast and he seemed pretty clingy, but I thought it was good that he's into me. He would passive aggressive, I think, over text if I took more than a few hours to respond, saying things like, oh, I was gonna send a search team out, or I guess you don't check your phone often. I didn't love that, but it's hard to tell if it's passive aggressive or I'm reading into it. I had this weird gut feeling. I'm not sure why, but I never felt totally safe or at ease with him. I've gone out with guys who became boyfriends who I knew instantly whether or not I'd feel safe alone with them, but I never could with him, even though he was nothing but sweet and romantic. He gave me flowers and tucked me in blankets and hand-fed me and brushed hair behind my ear. That kind of thing. He volunteered for soup kitchens and Make-A-Wish and just loved helping people. I don't know why my gut was telling me something was weird or off, but it did. He seemed kinda too good to be true, and even though on paper he's a saint, my gut told me something was just kinda artificial, or like his good deeds were to compensate for something unpleasant. After a couple weird comments on date 3 that rubbed me the wrong way, I knew it was over. He said, out of nowhere, that he might have multiple personality disorder because he's evil at night and just doesn't give a shit about people anymore. Hold on one second, my boy's calling. Oh my gosh, that was crazy. So my son called, and I was telling him about stuff I needed from the store, and then all of a sudden I heard one of my chickens going off, and I've lost, let's see, I've lost over a handful of chickens this last week. So I ran out there really quick and luckily was able to save it, but geez, oh Pete, now I'm trying to catch my breath. All right. He seemed kind of too good to be true, and even though on paper he's a saint, my gut told me something was just kind of artificial, or like his good deeds were to compensate for something unpleasant. After a couple weird comments on date 3 that rubbed me wrong, I knew it was over. He said, kind of out of nowhere, that he might have multiple personality disorder because he's evil at night and just doesn't give a shit about anyone or people anymore. And he's so different. What the fuck? He was also holding my hand at one point and said, oh, I love holding your hand, but I have to stop. Haha. Why? Because I break things. He also swerved on the road, and when I said, hey, what's up? He said, oh, just avoiding a bump. Oh, okay, all good. And then after that, swerved 2 or 3 more times. When I said, what's wrong? He pretended he didn't hear me. It was over. I couldn't wait to get home. I texted him it was over. I sent a polite and well thought out message that wouldn't make him angry or anything, and he sent an essay back. It's cruel thinking I'd leave him. He can't let someone who loves him slip away, and he wrote a song about me. Felt like forever because I hope we can work ourselves to be forever. We went on 3 dates, and one was a movie date. We barely knew each other. He also barely asked me any questions. I'd ask him questions, and he would never return them. My coworkers know more about me. And I'd say he sounds I don't know, narcissistic. He didn't ask you any questions, and I don't know, he just seems really weird. I think you dodged a bullet there, sister. Retired night shift said, sounds like you dodged a bullet. That's exactly what I said. If you are too vague and friendly, he may be encouraged and think he needs to continue and try to win you back. Hopefully, he will find someone else to focus on and not start stalking you. Don't respond to anything he sends. He knows where you live. You have security cameras? Woman in question said, it was thoughtful of him to show you early a little bit of just how bat guano crazy and cruel he really is, so you didn't waste too much time and energy on him. I agree. I totally agree with that one. Oh, wow. Oh, I was just able to make the page bigger. All right, let me give that an upvote. Yeah, what a crazy ass. Definitely dodged a bullet on there. Okay, Average 4974 has a story called Creepy Encounter at Local Park. I just have to share this story because I keep trying to come up with my own answers as to what was happening in this situation, and it has been consuming me. Just yesterday, I was walking at my local park, which I do fairly often, probably 3 to 4 times a week. I've had situations happen here, but nothing to this extent. The park has 2 separate tracks. The track I was on goes around the soccer fields, and the curve around the track has a hill on one side that leads up to the soccer fields and the woods on the other side. I'm aware of my surroundings when I'm walking on the backside because if you are back there alone, nobody is able to see you if anything happens. I had just come from the parking lot and was walking down to the backside. I noticed a man about 500 feet in front of me that I didn't pay much attention to because it's a walking track. The only thing that caught my eye about him was that he was dressed in all black, black hoodie, black jeans, when the weather was sunny and 65. You'd be surprised what people wear during the summer when it's really hot. Hoodies, sweatshirt, pants, boots, come on. I couldn't do it. I would die. I swear I would. Anyways, I walked down the hill and went to around the corner that brings you back up to the parking lot, and I quickly noticed that he was no longer in front of me. There was no way that he could have made it completely out of my sight by the time I went around the corner. I started looking to my left to see if he had gone up the hill toward the soccer field. Didn't see him. When I looked to my right, I noticed that he was standing behind a tree in a shallow part of the woods. At this point, he was probably about 10 feet from me. My stomach dropped, I turned around and started running. The first thing I thought to do was call my boyfriend, who was fairly close by working. I ran all the way back up the track, and the only person I saw was an older man who I quickly told what just happened, and he pretty much laughed at me. When I turned around to point where he was, the man was about 400 feet behind me, so I kept running. I ran back to my car, got in and locked the doors, and noticed a car leave the parking lot, circle around, and park about 4 spots next to me. I could feel the man in the car just staring at me. Shortly after, my boyfriend arrived, and I was debating calling for help because I wasn't sure if I was being paranoid. There's a pavilion area in the middle of all the baseball fields where I saw him standing for about 5 minutes until he started pacing back and forth on his phone on a nearby sidewalk. My boyfriend was standing at my car window and I was telling him everything that had happened when the man started to walk towards my car. I panicked and told my boyfriend we need to leave now, but he said nothing was going to happen with him standing at my window. You'd be surprised. He walked by my car with his phone to his ear, almost as if he was recording me, because the second he turned onto the next sidewalk, he was off of the phone. Shortly after that, I left and my boyfriend followed me home. I called the police and filed a report. There was lots of people at the park. It was 10:45 a.m., but unfortunately, nobody was walking around this track at the time this happened. There was no reason for him to be standing in the woods right there at all. I keep thinking about the what ifs. What could have happened if I wasn't paying close enough attention and kept walking? I have no idea what the intention was, but it definitely did not feel right at all. This entire situation was a wake-up call for me to never feel weird for paying close attention to my surroundings, as you really never know what people are capable of. I would have never considered myself a target for anything this situation could have led to, but unfortunately, it can happen to anyone. It really can. You never know. Yeah. To me, people are scarier than old ghosty woasties, tell you what. Because it's real. This is real life. And not saying ghosts aren't real. You know, I've had encounters with ghosts and entities and critters and such, but I mean, I don't know. It's pretty permanent if something happens to you. And with the traffic stuff going on, yeah, very, very scary. Alternative Web 1984. I pretended to be on the phone. That's probably the only reason I'm still here. I was in high school and had to walk to and from school every day because I lived too far out to catch the bus. There was an alley I usually took as a shortcut so I wouldn't have to walk all the way around the block. It saved time and I had never felt unsafe. But I had stopped using it for a while. My mom had recently been stopped by a man while she was alone. He asked for directions and then asked her to get into his car to help him find the street he needed. She didn't and came home safe, but the whole thing rattled me. Believe it or not, that happened to my mom. Luckily, she got away. She jumped out of the car and into the ditch when there was an oncoming car coming the other way down the road, and the guy just kept going. She says, so I avoided the alley until that day. I was tired and just didn't feel like taking the long way home. There was a short alley just to pass through between a couple of houses. Nothing had ever happened before. I thought I'd be fine. I had barely entered the alley when I heard a car behind me on the street. Something in me just knew to look back. There was a van, older guy inside, slowing down and staring at me. I kept walking, trying to act normal, but something was off. My gut was screaming at me to turn around, go back the long way, and get somewhere public where people could see me. But I didn't. I didn't want to look paranoid or weird. Maybe he'd just drive by. Maybe I was just overthinking it. Still, the way his eyes followed me made my skin crawl. Then I had this thought, get your phone out, pretend you're on a call. So I did. I held it up to my ear and started fake talking. The problem? My phone didn't have minutes. I couldn't actually call anyone. That made me panic even more. If something happened. I was still walking, pretending to talk, when I heard a car coming down the alley. It was him. He had turned into the alley. I felt my stomach drop. All I could think about was my mom's story, how that guy tried to lure her into his car. The weird vibe, the wrongness of it all. Now I was living it, and I was alone, a child. The van crept up next to me and slowed down. He stopped right beside me, looked me up and down. Then he asked if I could help him find a street. I said I didn't know street names, and he just stared at me, silent, like he was thinking, measuring, calculating. Looking at me, looking at my phone. I was frozen. Every part of me was screaming, don't run, don't blink, don't even breathe. I was frozen solid, my mind completely blank. Then finally, he just drove away. As soon as he turned out of the alley, I ran all the way home without stopping. I looked over my shoulder the whole way. I told my mother what happened. She accused me of making up my story for attention. The next day, she had her boyfriend walk me to school. When nothing happened, she doubled down and called me an attention seeking liar. She said I was just trying to copy her. She had no idea how scared I was as a teenage girl. She never believed me. Later on, after I'd moved away, I kept hearing stories. Women and kids taken off the streets in broad daylight, just gone. And I don't doubt that if I hadn't pulled out my phone and made it look like I had a witness, I would have been one of them. To this day, I still wonder what would have happened if I hadn't pretended to make that call, and no matter how long it's been, thinking about it still makes me cold. I think it always will. Yeah, pretty creepy. Creepy Babysitting Experience by Robe God. Honestly, to this day, this is one of the creepiest situations I have ever been in. When I was 15 or 16, I used to babysit for a family with 2 young kids. They lived in an apartment complex and would ride their bikes around in the parking lot. One time we were out there playing when one of the neighbors started talking to me. I didn't want to be rude to the family's neighbor, so I chatted with him. He was asking me about school and if I was into sports, specifically if I was a runner because I had amazing legs. Looking back, this obviously should have raised about a million red flags for me. Unfortunately, I was pretty desensitized to being objectified by middle-aged men, so I didn't think much of it, but I was definitely tired of talking to this guy. I was trying to wrangle 2 toddlers, so I took them inside for lunch. Being a young fool, I didn't lock the door. We were sitting at the table, eating lunch when the door opens, and lo and behold, in walks Mr. Legs. He closes and locks the door behind him, and finally I start thinking, maybe this is weird. I don't remember much about our interaction other than him saying he was there to get to know me better. I know I had to get him back out that door. I have no idea what I said to him, but it worked. He left and I learned from my mistake and locked the door behind me. I was deeply unsettled but blamed myself for the whole thing. I was so embarrassed that I hadn't locked the door when we came inside. Rookie move. Parents came home and I left, but I couldn't shake the heebie-jeebies, so I told my mom about it. Obviously, she was immediately like, "What the fuck? We need to tell the parents about this." She told my friends and called them, and they called the police. Turns out this neighbor was on the run and wanted by police for the R word. Needless to say, I am now obsessive about locking doors. Yeah, you got pretty lucky there. I wonder what you did say for him to leave like that. Dog sitting that turned dastardly. Warning, very long. I'm writing this partly for entertainment purposes, but also because I've never put this story to paper. By doing so, I'm hoping to fill the black hole in my memory about this event. I only remember this creepy occurrence up to a certain point, and then it's just gone. TLDR at the end. I can't write succinctly to save my life. Succinctly. After college, I wanted to volunteer in my community in a meaningful way, and I chose to become a suicide and crisis lifeline volunteer. The training was every Saturday for 2 months, and each session lasted several hours. It was intense and a big commitment, but I felt empowered to help someone at their lowest point and keep them safe for one more day. Once I started answering the phone as a lifeline volunteer, it was heartbreaking and energetically taxing, but also incredibly rewarding, and I tried my best to connect with everyone that heard my voice on the other end of the line. Once started answering the phones as a Lifeline volunteer, it was heartbreaking and energetically taxing, but also incredibly rewarding, and I tried my very best to connect with anyone that heard my voice on the other end of the line. My fellow volunteers were a huge reason I was in any way successful, as they provided support and encouragement and sometimes ideas on what to say. We were all pretty tight-knit in my class of volunteers, and I assumed anyone else who worked or volunteered there was as compassionate, lovely, and trustworthy as the people I had trained with. That included Greg, a volunteer who wasn't in my cohort group, but who I started to casually get to know through working a lot of the same shifts. He was about 50-something to my mid-20s female age. He was somewhat of a legend of Lifeline, as he had volunteered there steadily for decades and was both a military veteran and a recovering alcoholic. He was able to reach and help so many people through his stories, or so I always heard. So when Greg asked me to dog sit for him for a few hours one night, I was happy to oblige. I love dogs, and he had to at least be a decent person for all the good I heard about him. He gave me his home address, and we arranged for me to come by Friday night to meet the dogs and get all the usual instructions before he left. I made my way to his neighborhood and parked in front of a very normal, nice-looking 2-story home. Greg met me at the front door with his 2 sweet golden retrievers whom I loved immediately. He showed me the food and said they'd already been walked twice, so I could just let the dogs into the fenced backyard for a quick piddle if they needed. He was going to leave, and I would basically just hang with the dogs for a few hours and then leave for the night, and Greg would be coming back early the next day. As he pointed things out to me in his house, Greg was super friendly and enthusiastic, just like he'd always been at Crisis Center. He was a rotund man with a gray goatee and a wide smile with gaped teeth, gapped. He seemed a little dressed up to me, with his shiny collared shirt, but I thought he was maybe going to a fancy event. Just as I am wondering when Greg's going to actually leave, he asked if I'd like to see the upstairs of his house. This strikes me as a little weird, but I thought, hey, he's house proud. That's cool. I said sure, and he led me up the carpeted stairs and down a dark hall. He opened his bedroom door, which had only been slightly cracked. He walked into the room and turned around and said, "Yeah, so this is my bedroom." His giant bed took up most of the room and had a red velvet canopy. There was black lace all over, on the curtains, the pillows, the comforter. The decor was like French boudoir, and the rest of the house was in the style of single dude. And this, most concerning of all, there were at least 4 candles lit. He proceeded to then sit on his bed and smile at me expectantly, waggling his bushy eyebrows. I laughed incredulously, backing up a little. I think I said something like, I think you got the wrong idea, to which he brought up some flirty comment he had overheard me say to a fellow volunteer. I had a little crush on him, something dumb like that. I like making out. Then he smiled again and patted the bed next to him. My mouth fell open as I realized that because he overheard me saying something that was maybe a little risque, he really thought I was open to some kind of tawdry dog-sitting fling. And not to toot my own horn, but I was young and cute then, and he was, well, not. I thought he was rather beastly and old, and I in no way ever flirted with him. I wish I could say I had some zinger to shut down his gross attempt at romance, but I was too shocked to do anything other than cross my arms over my chest and shake my head no. His face dropped its Letterman-esque smile, then it was like a cold chill came into the room. Well, I better get going, he said, and looked at me with absolute darkness and disdain, barely trying to conceal this at this point. He was disappointed. I could tell he was embarrassed, and I was too. He grumbled as he hastily blew out the candles and then started walking toward me and the bedroom door to leave. I quickly scooted out of the room behind him, almost jumping down the stairs within minutes. Greg had grabbed his keys and left through the garage, closing it after him. Before he left, he bitterly said to call him if I had any problems. When he was gone, it was deathly silent except for the click of the dog's nails on the linoleum as they danced around me. My heart was pounding. I wanted to get out of there, but I also wanted to make sure the dogs were okay. Plus, I did feel better with him out of the house. The next few hours passed uneventfully. Holy shnikes. When it was about 8 or 9 at night, I was ready to leave. Then I realized Greg had not left me with a key of any kind. I checked the front door in hopes it would be the kind where you don't need a key to lock it, a push-in lock type, but it was a deadbolt. It had a weird sinking feeling in my chest. I went out the sliding glass door to the backyard and there was no egress that I could find. I called Greg. He sounded amused again when he answered. "Greg, you forgot to give me a key to lock up your house," I said, and when I tried to make a calm, almost jokey voice. "Oh, whoops," he replied, not sounding surprised at all. He chuckled a little. "Maybe you can get out through the garage," he suggested, and I liked that idea, "or if that doesn't work, you can just sleep in my bed," he suggested casually. Gross. I did not like that idea and ignored it. He told me to call him back if I needed him to come home. I assured him I would be fine. I went to the back garage and turned on the light, shut myself in so the dogs would be in the house and not escape. Then I opened the garage door and did that thing where you close it and run underneath it, only I hadn't done that maneuver for a decade, and this was the newfangled, safe version of a garage door that would detect any object underneath and not close. As the door bounced back up, I thought, effing Greg knew this would happen. I just felt it. My last memory was letting the golden retrievers, who had been whining and scratching at the door, into the garage with me after the garage door closed and hugging them as I cried into the fur of their necks. I had had enough and I could not stop the tears. And then, try as I might, I cannot remember what happened next. Did I call Greg back and did he come home? Did I call someone else? Did I just leave with the door unlocked despite my people-pleaser personality? I have tried and tried to remember, but it is almost like I blacked out after that moment in the garage. Maybe my brain is protecting me? Prologue. I don't know if I ever saw Greg again, just can't remember. He died suddenly of a heart attack a few years later, which I found out through mutual volunteer friends on Facebook. I got an ugly pit in my stomach when I heard the news and was also kind of angry seeing everyone praising him on his wall. I kept picturing him patting the bed next to him in his bedroom with that smirk on his face. I'm glad he helped all the people he did, but I was naive. And being a naive young woman who was doing him a favor, and I didn't expect nor deserve to be hit on. I also now realize that he probably didn't need a dog sitter at all and just set it up to try to get lucky. When I rebuffed him, I reckon he went and sat at an Arby's. Thanks for reading. That was somewhat cathartic. TLDR, dog sat for a guy who seemed totally normal and platonic. and then he skeeved on me. Then I felt like he accidentally, sorta on purpose, somewhat trapped me in his house. Yeah, Monopoly deal said, also that memory blackout, total valid trauma does that. Your brain probably went into protect mode. Don't beat yourself up for not remembering. It's not weakness, it's survival. It's true. Very true. Gotta let her know. Oops. Like Linus85 said, this is something I watch closely for a house cleaner and occasional pet sitter. Yeah, that guy was a creep. Ultra Horny Phoenix said, ugh, that pit in your stomach when you saw people praising him. Been there. Closure's weird when the people who scared you dies. Just know you weren't crazy or overreacting. He crossed the line and you were right to trust your gut. Yep, there's creeps out there. Terry Make 2 said he should not have been allowed to talk to vulnerable people. I hope you called someone or just walked out the front door. You could leave, right? It just would have been locked. You weren't locked in. Did you work with him after that? That is scary and weird. What a creep. That is such a scary experience. I would say. Oh yeah, I wonder if there's a follow-up. Nope. Reward Capable said, I'm sorry this happened to you, OP. It really sucks how younger women were conditioned to be polite at expense of their safety. Hopefully that mentality is dying out. I'm glad you were able to get out. Be safe out there. It's true. Alright. Strange by Infinite Chemistry 88. When I was younger, around 7th grade, I was at my best friend's house. Her foster brother was watching us as he was a senior in high school. He chased me through and threw me into the wall. He then tussled me into a chair. He used zip ties on my arms and roped me to the chair. He then put a blindfold on me and a sock in my mouth and locked me in a closet. What the crap? Of all times, my dad decided to do a pop-in and I heard him calling my name. My friend's brother then came in a panic, cut me loose, and said if I ever told anyone, he'd kill my best friend. Thankfully, after that, her sister adopted her, and she moved out of there. He used to always call me fat. I was like 5-10 pounds overweight. I've seen him recently pop up on Facebook, and he looks well over 400 pounds. He was not a foster child. He was living with his mom who fostered others. I still have this memory pop up every now and then. I wondered what the hell he was going to do. What was he thinking? Yeah, thank goodness your dad did stop by. Holy shnikes. Strange to say the least. Harry Bookkeeper 770. I was kidnapped as a child, but I didn't know. Honestly, this is probably the only crazy story in my life, and unfortunately, I don't remember all the details, and before writing this post, I had to contact my parents and older sister. There were general rules like don't open the door to strangers, etc., but that day, while I was waiting for the others to return, someone was persistently knocking on the door and ringing the bell, and I don't know if I went out onto the balcony or opened the window, but it turned out they were close friends, married couple of my parents. I remember they were very annoyed when they saw me and told me to leave the house immediately. Okay, so no stranger. I left the house. Here again, I don't remember if they told me this first or if I was already in the car, but they said that my sister had a minor accident at training and she's in the hospital, and my parents asked them to take care of me, but for some reason they couldn't do it at our house, so I had to go to theirs. I had an old phone at the time, but I left it at home. I didn't have any spare clothes, toys, school things, etc. And I have one very clear memory of them getting irritated with me when I asked them about it. Like, they really acted like they got a last-minute call from my parents and I just ruined their day, but once we were at their house, they were so nice. She played with me and I remember falling asleep on their couch the first day while watching one of their Barbie movies. Honestly, I'm glad I contacted my parents because up until that moment I thought I'd been there for 4 days, but according to my mother, I'd been gone for 2 weeks. 2 full weeks during which my family, teachers, friends, and friends' parents panicked and lost their minds. And this woman? She comforted my mother and assured her that I would be found someday and maybe I hid in one of my friends' houses. I can safely say I don't remember anything traumatic. I was only yelled at once when I started asking about my parents one day. The rest was strangely carefree, like I remember lots of fun, a cute dog, a garden with lots of toys, and walking through woods and collecting leaves, etc. No thoughts, head empty. I was convinced it was the couple's house and I visited them here before. However, my parents told me many years later that it was completely different house. Honestly, the day I was found was probably the most traumatic. Like, I remember lying in bed when the police literally broke down the door and there was lots of screaming. Then suddenly my parents appeared in the room and started dragging me to the car like, no, hello, good morning. Just pure rage. Then one policeman tried to stop them because they wanted to talk to me. Then they started arguing and my mother says she almost slapped that policeman over there and she also wanted to hit me because I apparently asked her if I could take the dog with us. My father claims he doesn't remember that part, and my sister says I did say something about a dog later, but everyone agrees it was pure chaos, and all the adults were arguing with each other, and then the police were angry with us because talking to me was pretty useless. The good news is that I was the first and only victim of this couple, and they wanted to keep me. I remember the first time I told someone outside my family about this was when I was 15, and one of my friends replied, "So you were kidnapped?" And I know it sounds stupid, but it was literally only that I actually thought, wait, someone kidnapped me? I guess it's because nothing happened to me. Even now when I think about kidnapping, I imagine something terrible. But that time was like a weird school break. Vacation time. Yeah, that would be weird. And I didn't see any comments down there. Yeah, no one wanted to comment on that. The guy at the library kept asking if I was waiting for someone. And this is by user Chow. I was studying alone at a library table. A man sat down at the far end. After a while, he slid a note over to me. It just said, "Are you waiting for someone?" I shook my head no and went back to my book. A few minutes later, he slid another note. Good. He didn't say a word, just stared. I packed my stuff as fast as I could and left. He didn't follow, but I saw him watching me through the window the whole way to my car. Oh my gosh, then Walmart puts an ad. Unprepared? Don't be scared. Bring your whole look to school before time runs out. Yeah, thanks, Walmart, for your care and concern. Apprehensive Day 8273. A creepy old lady knocked on my window in the parking lot. Normally, I, 23 female, feel bad for describing anyone as creepy, but in my defense, if you do something to creep someone out, it's a bit justified to call someone that. I know this encounter probably wasn't that big of a deal and that I may have overreacted, but it still unsettled me. When I pulled into the parking lot at the grocery store, I noticed someone parked in a white sedan with the windows down, a few spots over from me. I thought nothing of it and parked at the other end. Of course, I was going to go inside the store, but I decided to look at my phone for a few minutes before going inside. I was just minding my own business looking at my phone when I heard someone knock on my window. Needless to say, I got startled because no one ever knocks on my car window for anything. I whipped around in my seat and saw an old lady standing awfully close to my window. She knocked again and then put her face close to the glass, clearly trying to look inside the car at me. Now, knocking on my window is one thing, but getting real close and trying to look inside while I'm sitting there is another. I sort of froze up, debating in my head whether to roll down the window and ask her what she needed, but I got a bad feeling from the situation and felt it was best if I left, so I drove away. As I drove off, I saw her walking over to another car. It looked like she was holding a paper. The white sedan I'd noticed when I'd first driven it was empty, so I guess she must have gotten out of her car and walked all the way where I was parked while I was looking at my phone. I did not see her approach because I was facing the other way while reading on my phone. I decided to buy the groceries that I needed. The white sedan I'd noticed when I'd first driven in was empty, so I guess she must have gotten out of her car and walked all the way to where I was parked while I was looking at my phone. I did not see her approach because I was facing the other way. Yep, I read that part. I decided to buy the groceries that I needed at a different store rather than risk coming back and get confronted by the same person. I also didn't want her to vandalize my car or slash the tires or something. I feel like I may have overreacted, but the situation creeped me out, especially because she got really close to the window and pretty much stared at me. If she hadn't done that, maybe I wouldn't have been as creeped out, but in general, I don't like strangers approaching for any reason when I least expect it. When I called my mom, I told her about the little incident and she thought I overreacted because the lady was elderly and might have needed help. In fact, she thought I was crazy for going to another store just because of that. It made me feel a bit guilty. I don't know if I may have overreacted or not, but I felt that it was better to be safe than sorry because I've had similar things happen to me in the past. Yeah, you really don't know who to trust. Even kids, you gotta really watch your ass out there. The man at the gas station knew way too much about my drive home. This is by NB 10001. I was on a long road trip and stopped at a quiet gas station around 10 p.m. A man in a clean, plain car pulled up to the opposite pump. He was just staring straight ahead, not getting out. I went inside to pay, and when I came out, he was standing by the driver's side door, not his car. He said, "Long drive, huh? You take the I-90? That stretch after the river is real dark, no lights. You should be careful." He described the exact route I was taking, which I hadn't mentioned to anyone. He just muttered, and I said thanks and got in my car, locking the doors immediately. He stood there watching until I pulled back onto the highway. I took the next exit and found a different route. Muscle Jim 00 said, I'm not sure, could be reverse psychology depending on how many options of roads there was for you to take, because in case there's only two and he makes you afraid of one, then you are more likely to take the other one, which is the only option and maybe the one he wanted you to take. There's no way to know for sure, of course. It's true, you never know. You just never know with people these days. Even Jim Morrison wrote a song about people. Creepy man on my way home. Illegal Seal 69. I, 16 female, was walking home from my friend's house through a park. It was getting dark, and this old guy was scootering, but he stopped once he noticed me. I didn't say anything to him, but I moved to the other side of the footpath to get away. I'm usually skeptical of strangers, and then he started talking. I couldn't hear what he said properly because I had headphones on, but I'm pretty sure I heard him say something about murderers in the park and, don't worry, I'll take care of them for you. Like, what the fuck? I kept walking further down the street away from him, but a lot faster, and my mom luckily came by in her car to pick me up. She was looking for me because she was getting worried. I'm scared to go outside now. Yes, I told both of my parents, and they were concerned. Man Watching Me at Apartment Complex by Rocky KB. So I just moved into a new apartment complex and the place has felt decently safe. I've lived in some sketchy places before, but as a young adult female, I'm always pretty cautious. There is one building separating my building from the dog park. That building has units that have balconies that overlook the dog park area. There is also a grilling area and picnic tables right next to the dog park. When I first moved here, I noticed there was a man who was occasionally just sitting at the picnic table, just watching. Figured he was just enjoying the weather for a bit. Well, as time has gone on, I've become a bit creeped out by him. I walk my dog pretty frequently. She's a German Shepherd mix, so a little bit intimidating. 4 times now I've caught this man on his balcony watching me and my dog at the park. One time I saw him look out his window, see me out there, and proceed to open the balcony door and come outside. I immediately leashed my dog and left. Another time he just appeared out of nowhere and stood at the fence. He doesn't speak good English at all, can't quite determine his ethnicity, maybe Middle Eastern, and kept asking me if she'd bite, so I told him maybe. He then started asking more questions and asked what I do for work and asked multiple times if I am single. To which I told him my boyfriend lives with me. Not true though. Just tonight I got home around 9 p.m. and took my dog out for a quick potty break and was walking down the sidewalk and saw him standing on his balcony in complete darkness, just watching. I know I don't have any evidence of anything fishy, but it's creeping me out. I keep changing up where I park and what stairwell I use. It's going to make me paranoid. Should I bring this up with management at least? Yeah, it doesn't hurt to mention it. What's Happened Here by Important Grocery 710. Don't even know where to post this, so I'm posting this here. So the bus system in my area is free. I had just finished grocery shopping and was at a bus stop when a guy asked me if I'm waiting for the bus, which I clearly was. He asked for directions while looking at a map back to his area. I just him to take this bus and it will lead you back. All the while, he has his phone camera pointed at my groceries, staring at his phone. He then asked me, "You mean across the street?" No, this one, it'll be here in 5 minutes. Gets really angry, then proceeds to go the opposite direction. I don't understand what you're asking, I tell him. Oh, you don't understand? Like, dude, the area you want is literally on the opposite direction you are going. Thought he was going to try to steal my groceries, but upon finding rice, beans, and top ramen on top of my worn out clothing, I guess not, huh? Wouldn't be the first time someone would try to see into my grocery bags just to give me a weird, pitying look and move on. We get a lot of new people here during fall time, so I'm just not sure what in the world happened. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you on that one. This one's by Winter Turnover 579. Me and my little brother were chased from our own home. This happened a few years ago. It was a short encounter, but definitely lasted. It was New Year's Eve 2018. I was about 9. My brother was 6. I was at a friend's house watching the fireworks from her back garden. We left around 10 p.m. to begin the 4-minute walk home. It was dark, but we were comfortable walking home as we had many times and could see my house. As we got closer, my brother stopped talking about fireworks and asked, "Who's at our house?" I didn't think much of it and just said, "Mom, why?" He said, "Well, who's she outside with?" I, obviously confused, look up and see 2 men leaning against our wall, late 30s. My neighbor at the time often threw parties, so I assumed it was someone from her house. Gave him a simple, "Dunno," took his hand and continued walking. We got about 20 foot from my house when they stood up and began walking towards us, barking. I grabbed my brother and ran with him back down the street. At the end of my street, there was a ginnel leading to the back gardens. I crossed over the street and hid behind the end house with my brother. I called my mom, yes, I was 9, with a phone. She answered and started having a go at me. She assumed I was joking and went to the front door, expecting no one to be there. I heard the door open and it was silent for a few seconds. Then I heard her yelling, "What the F are you doing? Sat on my wall?" I heard frantic apologies coming down the phone, then her yelling again, "And why the F are you barking and chasing my children?" She later said they apologized and ran down an opposite street. My brother was too scared to move, and whatever adrenaline I had earlier was gone, and I couldn't carry him anymore. We asked around and no one saw anyone. Our curfew was moved from 8 p.m. She said they didn't seem drunk, but they didn't stick around enough for her to be sure. Shortly after, I was in the same backings with a friend around 7. The area had back gardens, garages, and a circular road around the garages. We were sat at an elderly neighbor's garage when a fully tinted van came in. We ignored it, assuming it was here to fix something. After ignoring it, we completely forgot about it and began skipping on the road. The van began driving behind us. It chased us 3 times behind the backings. After the 3rd time, we had the bright idea to leave the backings and close the gate behind us to avoid getting chased. I mentioned it, but it was brushed off, and I never really mentioned it again, but I imagine it could be connected, and we moved shortly after. After this, and honestly still now, my brother suffered with severe anxiety when it came to going anywhere alone. It's gotten a lot better in recent years. Thanks to anyone who reads this. Repost. I'm sorry, I'm new to Reddit. Well, what are you sorry for? Pretty scary stuff. Is my teacher being creepy? This one's by Routine Eggplant 2741. He always makes eye contact with me while talking to my friends. He makes me stay after class sometimes to tell me how well I'm doing. He doesn't do this to anyone else. He stands creepily close to me during practicals. He marks my homework and my work at full marks even if I've done fuck all, and he makes dirty jokes around me. It makes me super uncomfortable. Is he being creepy? CCCCC 55555X says, trust your gut. It's telling you. Ginger Elgato says, if your body is screaming, this feels off, it is. Teachers shouldn't make you feel singled out like that. DJ Catgirl, Run It Up, says, yeah, report that weirdo. Scary behavior and could get really bad. Try and at the very least transfer out of that class and get him to not be able to see you. Yep, we told on a creepy teacher once, and he was gone for a while, but then he came back, and that was really freaky. I did not like it, not one bit. Alright, Stranger at My Door Knew My Name. This is by Frosty Revolution 3505. First time poster, so apologies if something is formatted wrong. This happened about 6 months ago, and I have never stopped wondering what actually could have been going on. I was taking care of my parents' dogs while they went on a trip. About an hour after they left, my boyfriend came over, so it was just me and my boyfriend in the house when a car parked on the street outside my house, and a man, maybe 40s, knocked on the door. That was obviously a mistake because there's a window by my front door. I was trying to duck around, but he obviously saw me, and that's when he started saying my first name. Still knocking on the door, but now he knew someone was home. I obviously freaked out when he started saying my name. He was saying, is that blah blah blah? Are you blah blah blah? Is blah 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 home? By this time of day, it was dark, and I'm getting scared by the name drop and the fact that he's not leaving, so we took the dogs upstairs where there's a window overlooking the front door area. I had my boyfriend open the window and talk because my true crime-rotted brain was thinking this guy should see there's another man there and I'm not home alone. When my boyfriend asked what he wanted, he just kept asking for me by name. He started saying he needed to talk to me or to see me. Then he said he had something of mine. He was like, I need to see her so I can give something to her. My boyfriend asked what it was, and he was just kind of saying stuff about how he needed to see me, but he wasn't saying that he actually had anything specific. Then my boyfriend asked if he can leave whatever it is at the door and says he needs to leave. The guy at the door was pushing my boyfriend on that, asking how he knows me. It's going to get to me if he doesn't actually see me. My boyfriend asked how he would know it's me, and he says he knows me. So by that point, I was getting a little sick of the back and forth with this dude, and my boyfriend said we were calling the cops. The guy seemed pissed, and he left then. So I've spent enough time on this subreddit to know how common the first instinct is to point to sex trafficking, but that kind of thing just doesn't happen like this. How the fuck could he have known my name? I checked and all of my IDs, passports, etc. were all with me. So, I'm what's wrong with you said, so he didn't leave the thing he supposedly had for you and never came back to redeliver it? Guess it wasn't as important as he was making it out to be, and he could have just left it in the first place. Ugh, I'm glad your boyfriend was there. Did you tell your parents about it? Did they have any ideas? Frosty Revolution 3505 says, yeah, nothing. He didn't even seem to have anything in his hands. At least in the camera footage, his hands are either in his pockets or empty. I did tell my parents. They had no suggestions other than calling for help if he persisted. No one recognized him. Sherry Meg 2 said, that's weird. Do you have neighbors you could ask about him if you have his photo from the ring cam? If you were at your parents' house, could this be a neighbor or relative of a neighbor? I don't see why he wouldn't hand something to your boyfriend if you were being served with court documents. Even then, wouldn't the daytime or your work or home be more of an ideal place to serve you? Is he a stalker? I would want to know his name. If he had a car and you didn't get the license plate, maybe it was caught somewhere else. You can also go to the police station or call the non-emergency number and explain what happened. Show them a picture, maybe this guy is known to them. I don't know. Ild14 said, "Is it possible it was someone trying to serve you a summons? You typically come dressed in regular clothes, but are typically a police officer or some type of officer of the courts. They will call you by name or ask if you are that person to ensure that they are giving the summons to the right person. Once you respond to your name, they hand you the envelope and say, 'You have been served,' and they just walk away." Frosty Revolution said, "It's possible. I would have assumed that someone trying to send a summons would have come in the day and maybe used my full name instead of just my first. I would have received the summons at least by now if that were the case, I would think." Yeah, and like they said, they don't have to give it directly to you, just somebody at your house or a roommate or whatever. Bitter Elk 9285. One weird hinge date, months later, he's using my photo for art and messaging me on GPay. How to handle. About 5 months ago, I went on a single date with a guy I met on Hinge. It was his first ever date, and he came off as socially anxious, insecure, and overly eager. I was polite and tried to make him comfortable, but I told him afterward that I wasn't looking for anything and didn't want to take it further, and even when we were texting, I strictly told it's going to be a casual meetup. If not, I'm out. He said it will be, and I agreed to it. He came up with flowers, made the whole date weird, crossed boundaries, and kept wallowing in self-pity. A couple of months later, I deactivated Instagram for a while. When I came back, I found out he had taken a screenshot of my letterbox profile picture and made a digital artwork of me, calling it something like "cold as ice" with a poetic caption. I never gave him permission to use my photo. Later, he posted another story saying things like, "How does it feel to be mentioned in someone's journal?" which was clearly about me. I ignored it completely, then recently he randomly messaged me on Google Pay saying things like, "Maybe you didn't want to text me," and apologizing for not capitalizing letters, and this is the creepiest part, he wrote this: "Seeing you activate and deactivate Instagram makes me think I owe you this explanation about why I didn't text you or even follow your Twiddle handles." Twiddle handles. Yes, both of them, or leave comments on LinkedIn. Honestly, getting uncomfortable now. He stalked me so hard that he found out I have 2 Twitter accounts and he thinks I'm on and off Insta because of him, which is not the case at all. He believes I'm affected by the date or I have a bond or feelings for him, which is not the case. He's not threatening or dangerous, but he's boundary blind and it's starting to creep me out. I don't want him referencing me, using my photos, or contacting me on random apps. Should I, 1, send one message like, "Please don't use my photos or contact me again," and then block him everywhere? Or 2, skip the message entirely and just block and tighten my privacy settings? I personally, since he hasn't gotten it by now, would just block him and tighten your privacy. So Rugged Adonis said, "Send the message and then block him. Keep a record of everything. You may need it for a restraining order." Bo Kitten said, "This, just because he doesn't seem dangerous now doesn't mean he's not dangerous." Lamverous Nymph said, "So someone who is boundary blind is unsafe. It may not have manifested in a dangerous encounter yet. Those are people who are so socially inept and full of themselves that they can't view anything outside of their own twisted perspective. Take it seriously, please." Hattie B. Living said, "He is in his own world and thinks you're thinking of him, which can lead to being dangerous or at least a giant pain in the ass. I'd message him and then block him." Sounds good. Well, let's go ahead and move on to Reddit True Scary Stories. This one is by Huck Liebs and Spezfe. He knew about my tattoo. Backstory: I am an executive for a large company. We wrapped up a meeting last night and we decided to head to the bar to get dinner and some drinks. We got there and they seated us at an 8-chair high top. We waited about 20 minutes and no waiter came to us. We were getting antsy. I walked over to the bartender and asked if there was anyone that was going to come serve us, as we had limited time before people would have to go home. He said, "Sure, I'll get someone." Then he dropped the "nice tattoo." I was confused. I was wearing a wool suit with an undershirt. I asked what tattoo. He said the Saint Benedictine cross on your back. I asked him how he knew or how he could see it. He scoffed and said, "What do you think? He's gonna protect you?" This guy had the grimace of the pure fucking evil. Nothing about this was comforting, and I walked away both confused and really creeped out. For those of you who don't know, the Saint Benedictine cross, read below. 1. The cross at its center is the Christian cross representing Christ's victory over sin and death. Saint Benedictine used the cross as a defense against evil and temptation, and his followers continued this association. 2. The letters and inscriptions around and on the cross are Latin initials, forming powerful exorcistic prayers: CSS, ML, NDSMD, Crux Sancti Patris Benedict, non Draco Siti Mihi Dot. The cross of our Holy Father Benedict, let not the dragon be my guide. BRSN SMV-SMQLIVB Ved retro Santana Venquam Swad Mihi Vana Sant Malacu Libas Ipsi Venena Ibus. Begone, Satan, never tempt me with your vanities. What you offer is evil, drink the poison yourself. 3. Pax. The word Pax, peace, often appears above the cross, reflecting the Benedictine motto of inner peace through faith and order. For the image of Saint Benedict on the reverse is usually Saint Benedict holding the rule, his monastic coat, and a cross with a chalice and raven at his sides, symbols of miracles where he was protected from poisoning. Purpose and use: traditionally, the metal is blessed by a priest and used for spiritual protection from evil, temptation, or curses, blessing homes, persons, or objects. A reminder to live a disciplined, Christ-centered life following Benedictine principles. When I returned to the table, I decided I was not going to drink, just have some dinner. I ate my meal, decided to go back to the bar and find this dipshit. I was mad. This shit borderline ruined my night. It was a different bartender, a young female. I asked where the other guy went, and I described her to him. Him to her, I would say. She said she has been working that shift since noon. It was about 6:45 p.m., and no one would be taking over for her. She thought I was drunk. Can someone explain this? Was I tweaking? I don't think so. Maybe she ran to grab something and some guy, stood in her place or acting like he was the bartender. I don't know, it's pretty weird. Khorasan wrote, "When history is more horrific than myth." I love this time of year, around this time when we hear stories of ghosts, goblins, ghouls, and dark and scary things of the night, creatures of myth, but if you ask me, the closer to home, the scarier it is. Who is afraid of Hydra hiding around a building ready to tear you apart with each of its heads? No, the real monsters are humans, and the more noble, the darker the story, right? I quite enjoy Frankenstein, the good doctor, in his pursuit to cure the uncurable death. He played God and grave robbed. Perhaps his greatest sin is that he was successful while doing it. His monster, confused, lost, and hurt, took life, but what expectations would we have if he appeared normal and not a patchwork man? Still, modern medicine cannot claim to be any more holy than Frankenstein. Many doctors have done much worse than the good Dr. Frankenstein, with much poorer results to show. Tonight I'm going to tell you a tale of one such man, one that very few know, one not too far from many others, but is perhaps one of the greatest monsters I know. Sorry guys, I didn't do a music break, so and I wasn't keeping track of the storytime music. So yeah, we were going into closing there, which I wasn't ready to go. Were you? All right, let's see, where were we? What the heck? Okay. It was the year 1907, a time when there was vast improvements in medicine, an age of discovery that our young monster was appointed to New Jersey State Hospital at Trenton. This monster wanted to do good, cure what he thought was mental illness. I say illness because he had a theory that it was caused by a focal infection. They say that the bacteria in the mouth can drive one insane, and he would set out to cure that illness. I cannot speak to his motivation. Maybe he wanted to do good. Maybe he wanted to get his name in the history books. Maybe he just wanted the prestige that ran in the circles he cared about. Whatever the reason, he started experimental surgeries and claimed fantastic results. His mentor was a prominent psychiatrist, and who toasted him, and many doctors became envy of his results. Many of them tried to duplicate his findings unsuccessfully. The monster's thought process is that if someone is suffering from mental illness, then start by pulling bad teeth. And if results are not as intended, then go to the good ones, then tonsils, next spleen, and if you must, part, if not all, colons and reproductive organs. Other doctors never went far enough, or if they did, they waited too late to do so. Still, the psychiatric community was perplexed, and the mentor, the then president of the American Psychiatric Association, had to step in. He sent another one of his aspiring students to do a little investigating, entering our heroine. See, our heroine was ethical and wanted to bring the light to shadows, but her reward was to be placed in with the male inmates and treated with disrespect, and struggled to get the material that she needed for a forthright report. But with perseverance, she was able to complete her task and deliver what might have been considered a scandalous report. High mortality rates of surgeries at one point, at least 40%, no real results to show for it, evidence that our monster was falsifying his data. You think it would be over, but the mentor could not take the embarrassment of the backlash of his protege that he backed in such public manner. So the mentor silenced the report, but the damage had been done. The padded walls were closing in. Now many were on to the wrongdoings at New Jersey State Hospital. What to do, what to do. Our monster then performed his surgeries on his own children, taking the teeth out of his boys, maybe out of desperation. Time was bought, but only time. He still needed proof that he was right, or all he had done would backfire and he would not get his prize. Things were getting darker, more eyes on him in a way he didn't want, and the monster had a breakdown and then pulled his own teeth. More time, maybe just enough, as right at the end of the monster had a heart attack, held a hero in international professional publications for having been a pioneer seeking a better path for the treatment of the patients in mental hospitals. When out of the light everything swept under the rug, thousands, mutilated hundreds, died all at the hands of one mad doctor who had a theory he could not prove but claimed he did for the glory. And yes, this all really happened. I may not know all the details, and I think there are more, many more, that are lost to time or still hidden under the rug, but much of what I've shared has been documented. If you want to know more, our monster is Dr. Henry Cotton, the heroine is Dr. Phyllis Greenacre, and our mentor is Dr. Adolf Meyer. A researcher and author, Andrew Skoll wrote two good books, Desperate Remedies, Psychiatry's Turbulent Quest to Cure Mental Illness, and Madhouse, a tragic tale of megalomania in modern medicine that has lots of history, and Dr. Henry Cotton and other mad doctors in their pursuit to cure what they do not understand. Dr. Henry Cotton has made brief appearances in the Nick and Boardwalk Empire, but what a good horror movie would his story make? How many people did he kill? How many did he maim? In the end, he was held and honored, yet what a terrifying monster. Would any one of you want to enter his hospital? I don't think so. I would not at all. Yeah, there's all kinds of sad, scary treatments they did in asylums, mental and no. Cryptid. Golden humanoids abduction, Puerto Rican teens encounter and prophetic warning at phantomsandmonsters.com. In the summer of 1996, an 18-year-old in Puerto Rico was swept from his aunt's home into a metallic chamber filled with strange golden humanoids and a radiant blonde figure. What began as a terrifying abduction unfolded into a chilling prophecy of Earth's fate and a revelation about the special energy he carried within. That sounds like it could be good. Let's see. Year-old Norberto Perez was at his aunt's house in Quebradillas, Puerto Rico, during the summer of 1996, for a family reunion when he began experiencing a severe headache and stomach discomfort. Feeling very sleepy, he decided to go to bed. As soon as he was closing his eyes, he found himself in a strange metallic room on a cot-like bed, unable to move. Around him stood 4 humanoid figures, each about 4 feet tall, very thin, and dressed in tight-fitting gold outfits and gold sandals. They had long 6-fingered hands. Suddenly a door appeared in the metallic wall and a tall figure entered the room. This man-like figure was beautiful, with white skin and blonde hair. A bright light surrounded him, and he wore a white tunic that reached his ankles along with silvery sandals. Sorry guys, I had to run outside and save the chickens again. I had to catch 4 of them, and then one was in the tree fort tree. Let's get back into it. Suddenly a door appeared in the metallic wall and a tall figure entered the room. This man-like figure was beautiful with white skin and blonde hair. Bright light surrounded him and he wore a white tunic that reached his ankles along with silvery sandals. Roberto noticed that the man wore a gold ring with a pyramid imprinted on it. The tall blonde man approached him, and one of the short humanoids handed him a transparent sphere that contained an electronic chip-like device. The spheres floated over Norberto's forehead, then moved to different parts of his body before vanishing. At that moment, the blond man began communicating with Norberto telepathically, as he did not move his lips. He reassured Norberto not to fear. When Norberto asked why he was chosen, he was told it was because he had been born with a special type of energy. Soon, Norberto regained the ability to move and was taken to another room that resembled a control center. There he saw 3 of the short humanoids operating consoles. Suddenly, a giant screen appeared showing all the planets aligning. He then saw Earth, which seemed to be upside down, followed by an image resembling a nuclear blast, causing death and destruction. He was warned that humanity was headed in that direction if changes were not made. Another door then appeared, and Norberto noticed dozens of domed, disc-shaped objects in what seemed to be a large hangar. The tall blonde figure observed Norberto's curiosity and touched his forehead with a finger. At that moment, Norberto found himself back in bed. For the next 3 hours, he experienced a state of mental confusion. That looks like it was it. Well, that's the end of that story. Pretty trippy. That one looked like it would have been good, but nobody answered. Pray with us. This is by Mr. Gas Mask. After the war, I was sent to guard an old monastery in the hills of what used to be Yugoslavia. Most of the buildings had been damaged by shelling. The roofs were open to the weather, and the bell tower leaned to one side like a broken spine. There was no electricity, just fog, stone, and the sound of rain on old tiles. I was the only soldier stationed there. My orders were simple: keep watching, make sure no looters or deserters came through, and report once a week. The first few nights were quiet, cold but quiet. I slept in a small room near the chapel. The walls smelled of wax and damp earth. The bell rang for the first time 3 nights after I arrived. It was exactly 3:03 in the morning. 3 tolls, slow, hollow, the kind of sound that travels through your body instead of your ears. I went to check the tower, but the ropes were still tied. The bell should not have moved at all. I wrote it in my report, but nobody replied. Every night after that, it rang again, always at 3:03, always 3 times. The air would change when it happened. The fog outside would thicken until it looked solid. Sometimes I thought I saw shapes in it, small, twisted figures moving across the courtyard, just beyond the edge of the light. I tried to convince myself it was a trick of the mist. One night I went out with my flashlight, stood under the tower, and waited. When the bell started to move, I looked up. There was no wind. The rope didn't move. But the bell did. I could see the clapper swinging on its own, slow and heavy, and from the fog I heard whispering. They weren't words I recognized, just low, broken murmurs like a prayer in a language that wasn't meant for living. My flashlight flickered, and I saw them, dozens of figures kneeling beneath the bell. Their clothes were old, soaked with mud. Their eyes were white, completely white. They didn't look at me, just kept moving their lips as if praying. I froze. One of them turned its head slightly toward me and said very softly, "Do not be afraid, brother. We only came to pray." Then the bell rang a 4th time. The sound was sharp, metallic, like a scream. The fog collapsed in on itself, and the courtyard was empty. The figures were gone. The ground, where they had knelt, was wet, darker than the rain. I don't think it was just water. When morning came, the abbot appeared at my door. I didn't hear him approach. He looked old, older than any man I'd ever seen. His eyes were gray and empty like the sky before a storm. He asked me if I had prayed with him. I said no. He nodded and said quietly, "Next time, you must." That night, the bell didn't ring. The night after, it did, 3 times, then silence. But when I went outside, there was only one shadow under the bell, tall, thin, and waiting. I looked up, and for a second, I thought I saw the abbot's face. It's been years since then. Every October 31st, I hear it again. 3 tolls, then the whisper. "Brother, it's time to pray." And when I do, the air grows heavy, and I can almost see them, excuse me, forming in the fog again, kneeling beneath the bell, waiting for me to join them. I know that one night I will. This is by Vanilla Bean 0104. Sometimes I catch my reflection staring at me. Clearly, that sounds insane, but I've always had some kind of paranoia around reflections. It's not usually like a ghost story, so it doesn't seem worth sharing, usually. But right now, I actually saw it, sort of. So let me try to backtrack, though. This thing happens most when I'm up close to the mirror, doing makeup or dealing with a pimple or something. And I'll be looking at something else on my face, but I can still see from my peripheral my own eyes looking back at me. When I'm looking at my actual eyes, it's the worst. It's literally my reflection, my own eyes looking at my reflection, yet it feels like a whole other being is staring back at me. And sure, that may be because it's my reflection and that's how it works, but it feels like someone else and I hate it. But right now, I went pee, I washed my hands, and as I am looking down at my hands, I saw from my peripheral my reflection looking up at me. Literal horror movie moment. I quickly left and covered the mirror with my hands as I left so I couldn't look at me. So yeah, felt the need to find a subreddit and share. Thanks for reading, and please let me know if this is a common thing. No comments. That was only 1 day ago, but still. Man, that is creepy. They say that mirrors could be portals, or doorways, or gateways, or whatever you want to call them. This is by Master Outside 4133. Spook, spats, or safety. I just took my 7-month-old Aussie pup out to use the potty, as I just got home from work and it's about 11 p.m. He did his #1 biz as usual, and we walked over to where our mailboxes are over a big patch of grass in front of the road on my street. He likes to run over to a separate, more private area a bit past this area for his #2 biz. We were strolling along and he randomly stopped, and just looking off in the distance, all of a sudden, he started to softly bark at a little. He doesn't bark rarely ever. So I was a little concerned, and then he full body sprinted the opposite direction and then circled back to our apartment door frantic. I'm running with him, asking him what he's freaking out about, as if he were going to tell me. I peeked out of my window for a bit to assess the area from indoors, and there wasn't anything out there. No cars were crossing and no one was outside. The only thing I could notice was a flickering light on the other building he was looking towards. I don't know if he just got spooked by something or a quirky little thing he did, or if this was out of safety. I'm glad I went with him, though I live in a very sketchy neighborhood where There is a stabbing or shooting or robbery every other week just on my street, so I'd rather be safe than sorry. This one is from Cryptid. The Beast of Bray Road, our terrifying encounter in Kettle Moraine State Forest. So on July 2022, what began as a casual hike through Wisconsin's Kettle Moraine State Forest turned into a chilling brush with the unknown. Was the towering horse-sized creature that shadowed us through the fields the famous Beast of Bray Road, or something even stranger still? Let's see what it says. Was it gonna open? There it goes. That was weird. In July 2022, what began as a casual hike through Wisconsin's Kettle Moraine State Forest turned into a chilling brush with the unknown. This is my story about the Beast of Bray Road, which I've shared before. In July 2022, my husband and I hiked a trail in the Kettle Moraine State Forest. It was midday and a handful of other people were around. I want to clarify that we were sober. We hiked far enough along the trail that we stopped passing anyone. Most people seemed to be hanging out closer to the park lot. As we walked through an area with nearby crop fields and a farm visible in the distance, we began to creep ourselves out with silly things. A black and white striped snake, a lacy white cloth hanging from a tree, and a large pile of rocks surrounding a lone tree, just for fun. I kept saying that if we saw 3 weird things, we should turn around. After passing the tree, I suggested we head back, but my husband wanted to reach the next mile marker on his watch since we were so close. So we continued through the fields and entered a wooded area where we could still see the fields through the trees. Suddenly, we spotted something huge. It had grayish-brown fur and was the size of a horse, but its head looked strange. It was far away, but it was running towards us, beelining through the field. We quickly turned around and started walking fast, unsure whether it was a massive dog or something else. The way it ran was unnerving. It moved on all 4s with long legs, and it seemed to glide or run in slow motion. We began sprinting, and the creature kept pace with us, running alongside without getting closer. We sprinted all the way back to the woods, and thankfully we didn't see it again after that. As we reached the parking lot, we warned everyone we passed to be careful, as we had encountered a strange large creature. I'm sure we freaked out a few people. Later we shared our experience with a friend who said, "That sounds like the Beast of Bray Road." We looked it up and were eerie at how similar it sounded. To this day, we feel unsettled by the experience. That night, while walking home from dinner in the dark, we took a wrong turn and ended up in the fenced-off area with a family of deer. The buck slowly began advancing on us while the rest of the family stood behind him. So we had to climb the fence to escape before getting too close. I like to think nature was really trying to warn us that day. L. The Beast of Bray Road. Beware. Miss Sewer Slide Sheep 666. Nice name, bro. Alright. The Red Room. Nobody in the family dares to go in that room. It's been left untouched for decades, but still remains the exact same since my great-aunt Diane died at 12 from cancer. It was her room, obviously, and her favorite color was red. Red walls, red bed, and a Raggedy Ann doll. Diane's favorite doll sits perched up on her dresser. It's the first thing you see when you walk in there. My great-grandparents are still alive, and every holiday they have family come over. Nobody enters Diane's room, not because they're not allowed to, but because everyone that ever goes in there feels this heaviness on their chest, like they can't breathe. I've only been in there for a few seconds when I was a kid and immediately felt my adrenaline spike and I ran out of there. And this was before I even knew about Diane. Anyway, this happened to my cousin Jose. He was about 6 or 7 years old. I'm pretty sure this was his first time visiting my great-grandparents' house, so he was curious, going to all the different colored rooms and playing. That's when he got to the red room. He was only in there for a few minutes until he runs out screaming and crying into my aunt's arms. He tells my aunt that the big kids in the red room were biting and hitting him. Jose lifts up his shirt to show my aunt, and he's covered in red marks, scratches, and marks that are already bruising on his back. After she soothes him, she immediately goes to the red room to investigate. No kids are there. Just as she's about to leave, the Raggedy Ann doll slowly lifts both its arms up at my aunt, as if creepily asking for a hug. She screams and slams the door shut. I'm not sure if my great-grandparents are oblivious or just don't want to acknowledge what happens in the red room, but I know they eventually move the Raggedy Ann doll to storage and they don't invite people to sleep in the red room anymore. I thought nobody used the red room. I'm confused. Wow. That's interesting. It went to the story before that story. What the heck? Mr. Gas Mask, am I going crazy? I was stationed at a remote post in the north, Post 9. There was nothing around us but snow, wind, and silence that pressed against the skin like ice. The nights were endless, the lights buzzed, the walls sweated cold. The wall beside my bunk started making sounds. At first I thought it was the pipes or rats or just the kind of noise that happens when the cold starts cracking metal, but then I realized it was whispering my name. I froze. I waited. Nothing. Just the hum of the light above me. The next night it came again. Clearer this time. Closer. Open it. I sat up in my bunk, my breath fogged in the air. Who's there? I whispered back. Silence, then soft I could barely hear. I'm inside. I told myself it was exhaustion, a trick of isolation, but the whisper had weight, carried air, breath, presence. I pressed my ear to the wall. There was something behind it, breathing. The third night I couldn't stop myself. I took my knife and cut into the wall. The sound of the blade scraping wood was louder than my heartbeat. Dust fell into my eyes. I reached in. Cold air, empty space. Then, from behind me, a voice said, "Too late. I'm not inside anymore." I turned around, but my barracks were empty. The lights flickered once, then again. I dropped the knife. My hands were shaking so badly I couldn't move. The whisper came again, right beside my ear now, only this time it sounded like my own voice. Go back to sleep. When I woke up, the wall was untouched. The cut was gone, the knife too. My hands were bleeding. Sergei, the guard on the next shift, looked at me with this pale, hollow stare. He didn't ask. He didn't need to. I could see the same fear in his eyes, the same noise echoing in his head. Now when I lie down, I don't hear it whisper anymore, but I feel it. It moves when I breathe. It watches when I close my eyes. Sometimes in the quiet between shifts, I hear a new voice from the wall. A young soldier, fresh arrival, curious. He whispers to it, and it whispers back. I think that's how it spreads, one by one, through the walls, through the cold, through us. Post 9 isn't a place anymore, it's a mouth, and every man who sleeps near it ends up speaking for it. So if you ever get sent here, don't listen, don't answer, and whatever you do, don't cut the wall. My mother's voice, a childhood encounter with Jinn in the hallway. When I was a child, our grandparents' old house became the stage for eerie encounters. Shadowy figures in the hallway, footsteps on the roof, and a voice that called my name from the darkness. But the night I saw my mother asleep while another version of her called to me from the bathroom remains a mystery that still chills me to this day. When I was younger, we lived in my grandparents' old house after they had built a new one and moved out. The house always felt creepy. There was a long hallway with no windows that led from the kitchen to the end where the pink bathroom was located. That bathroom served as the kids' bathroom, and I always hated it. In the living room, there were many times when I would catch a glimpse of someone standing at the door to the hallway out of the corner of my eye. Sometimes something would pass through the block and block the light in the hallway. At night, we often heard running sounds on the roof. Our roofs were flat and there was a stairway leading to the roof from inside the house. It sounded like something was playing up there back and forth. However, the creepiest occurrences were when we would see our mother. She could be seen in the hallway, either walking to her room or to the kitchen, or she came to our room and would say something at the door in the same hallway before turning and walking into her room. When we followed her into the room, she wouldn't be there. She would either be in another part of the house or not home at all. One night I was asleep on the top bunk of our bunk bed, where my two sisters and I slept in the same room. I remember waking up late at night to the sound of my mother calling. The voice echoed, making it sound like it came from the bathroom that was between our room and my parents' room. I got up, my feet on the ladder, and was about to climb down when I looked down at the bottom bunk, a queen-size bed, and saw my mother asleep with her sisters. She usually reads to us every night and must have fallen asleep. As I stared at her, I heard my mother calling me again. I froze, unable to move or speak as my mind tried to make sense of the situation. I was only about 8 or 9 years old. The voice sounded a bit impatient or even angry. I was frightened, and all I could do was climb back into bed and pull the covers over me, waiting for the voice to stop calling me. I think it called my name twice more before it finally stopped. I don't even remember falling asleep. That experience remains one of the scariest memories I have from that house, and I truly hated it. We don't believe in ghosts, instead we believe in jinn, which are entities that can inhabit older areas, abandoned places, and deserts. In our case, we were likely living in an area that had once been desert, meaning we could have been building on land where they once lived. Some jinn are good while others are not, but we've been taught to avoid interacting with them and to respect their boundaries. This is by Benjamin 5431. A couple scary experiences I had working at a funeral home. I used to work night shift at a crematory funeral home. One time in the middle of the night, the door beeper sound activated. the beep beep sound that happens when a customer opens the door. All doors were locked. I checked both the front door of the funeral home and the basement door. The two that would cause this beep to activate, both were still locked. No one was in the building besides me. Scared the absolute hell out of me, thinking someone may have slipped in and hid from me or something. Another time, a similar occurrence, we have a window in the basement looking out to the back parking area where employees park and where we receive body deliveries. There is a light on the corner of the portico where bodies are dropped off. It shines right into my office window. I saw the shadow of someone walking in front of the light. The shadow was projected against the wall of my office opposite of the window. The fact that someone was walking around out back of the funeral home basement at midnight was fucking terrifying. Thought they were going to try and rob me or something. Never called the police in these two occurrences. And lastly, this didn't happen to me but to my coworker. There was a parked car with the driver door open, parked literally right up against the back door. My coworker assumed someone was dead inside the vehicle. He didn't even walk up to it, just called the police. Apparently, a guy had stolen a car and was running from the police and decided to nearly ram it in the back of the funeral home and left. Okay. Thanks, Benjamin. Cryptid. Pale Reaper figure. Oh, where did it go? Hello. Pale Reaper figure haunts Puerto Rican home at night. In the dead of the night, a sleepless parent in Arecibo, Puerto Rico, glimpsed a tall masked figure shrouded in torn mesh garb, wielding a scythe-like weapon, and what followed revealed an eerie connection to their daughter's nightmares. Could this unsettling event be a visit from a something beyond the natural, or merely a sleep-induced hallucination veiled in folklore and fear? Arecibo, Puerto Rico, one night, I was unable to sleep due to nonstop nightmares. I felt extremely sleepy but couldn't drift off. At one point, I peeked through my tired eyes and saw a tall figure enter my daughter's room. It then emerged and passed by my doorway before heading down the hall. The figure was dressed in long, torn-up clothes resembling a flowing sheer mesh in shades of gray to yellow. It wore a mask or helmet that covered its head and face, and it was carrying a heavy, pointed weapon, reminiscent of a reaper's scythe, although it seemed to struggle with its weight. Half asleep and irritated, I yelled at the figure, demanding that it stop giving me nightmares and go away. I wasn't afraid. I was grumpy and desperately wanted to sleep. When I finally woke up in the morning, my daughter told me she couldn't sleep the previous night because she had nightmares. In that moment, I realized it had to be the same entity I had seen, and the details of my encounter were too vivid to deny. While the experience could be interpreted through natural explanations, sleep paralysis, shared stress, dream contamination, coincidental nightmares, it also aligns with many hallmarks of paranormal intruder phenomenon as reported in fortune literature: masked, helmeted entities, threatening posture, connection to nightmares. Without further independent verification, e.g., other witnesses, objective recordings, environmental anomalies, that remains mysterious but compelling enough to warrant investigation rather than dismissal. What are your thoughts? So there's some investigative notes. Could it be supernatural? Here are several angles for consideration. sleep paralysis, hypnagogic states. The description of extreme sleepiness, inability to sleep, vivid visuals, an intruder figure, a weapon, and a sense of connection to nightmares matches classic features of sleep paralysis or hypnagogic, hypnopompic hallucinations. Academic research on Puerto Rican nightmare narratives notes how altered states of consciousness, culture beliefs, and spiritual interpretations often intertwine in such experiences. 2. Cultural and folkloric context. So, Puerto Rican cultural frameworks open space for supernatural interpretation of nocturnal intrusions, mass visitors, or entities bringing nightmares. While no specific documented case from Arecibo exactly matches this description in open literature, the broader phenomenon of figurative nocturnal intruders is present in local cultural sleep research. Physical appearance and behavior of the entity. The figure's mask/helmet, flowing torn clothes, and scythe-like weapon are more in line with stylized horror or folklore, Grim Reaper motif, than typical benign intruders. The burden striding suggests a deliberate presence rather than a fleeting hallucination in the narrative. That said, hallucinatory imagery during semi-wake states can be extremely vivid and symbolic. Weapon equals threat, mask equals unknown. Correlation between witness and daughter. The daughter's nightmares in the same night, and the curious second data point, which may suggest that either a shared psychological trigger, stress environmental factor, a parental transfer of anxiety, or, from a paranormal investigator's viewpoint, a shared intruder/manifestation event. Then there is lack of prior documentation or corroboration. So there appears to be no publicly documented case from the Arecibo with precisely these details, so the incident remains singular. That doesn't negate the possibility of a genuine anomalous encounter, but leaves it in the unverified category for a conventional investigation perspective. Neon Night Darkwolf. It was unholy and true incident. So it's happened a few weeks ago. One day, in our school campus while school was on, my mother and teachers in the kindergarten saw something horrific. The campus consists of an apartment where we live, the ground, a separate college, a school of ours, and the kindergarten block from in front of our school. As my mother was doing her work in the AV room, and my friends were playing outside in the ground, and my class was having IT practicals, a very strange person of unknown gender walked into our school. They had very thick cloth on their head, a very thick one, with no chances to even see out of it, yet they walked in a perfect straight line all the way to our campus. My mother was the first one to see them. She was scared and horrified. A very strange feeling came over her. If you'd see a stranger and get scared, you'll only be afraid, but she felt something else too. Something weird, something she couldn't explain. The feeling was so intense that she wanted to lock herself in the room and hide, but she couldn't. Being a coordinator with everyone relying on her, she couldn't. Rushing out, she told the cleaner to lock the block's gate. Listening to my mother's words, she did. And they went away from the kindergarten. The PT teachers chased her out. The security was useless. A day passed and we went to sleep like usual. School was over, it was night. We brought our dog in, cats on the bed sleeping. It was nice. Sleep came steady until my dog started barking. His sound was never like before. It was strange, aggressive, as if he had something nobody was supposed to. We woke up but were very sleepy. My mother went and made him stop and then stood at the doorway to stop him from barking when he started again. Then something happened. I had a very strange feeling. I was afraid, so was my mother, but being a parent with a child, she was to be brave. She went to him and comforted my dog. But then she could hear sounds from outside. Drawing back the curtain, she peered out and saw nothing. She was confused. Something was wrong. My dog never barked like that. He was 5 months old anyway. No puppy would bark that harsh, that weirdly. Something was wrong. She could feel it. Opening the door, she came to know that the members of our building were awake and there was an unwanted guest. The day the unknown person who came to our school dressed in all white with cloth had come to the school again after the PT teachers had chased them out during school hours. And before they could enter, the drivers chased them away all the way to a pond where they naturally collapsed. It was said that they sat under the tree that was near the pond for 2 days. Why, we never knew, and we never won't. There are some things that go unanswered and maybe should be unanswered. The drivers used a long stick to unravel the cloths to see their face. It was a lady, a very dark lady. Back to the night she had come. She had gone to one of our teachers' house and banged on their window. Each time it got louder. Louder and louder until it shifted to the door and stopped. She held the rails and was swaying back and forth, singing a very strange tune. Then she hung her body, almost falling, and said something before she moved. We suppose since the dog never cared about anyone else, once 2 strange men banged on our principal's house and my dog didn't bark nor wake, she must have come to our floor and hearing her and feeling that same strange feeling. Something that isn't supposed to be there. She must have knocked, and he must have heard and felt to start barking. Perhaps it was, excuse me, because of him that she didn't do anything and left. Now my mother came into the house telling me that someone was there. I became useless, searching for my glasses that seemed to have disappeared. So she took my dog and left. I found my glasses shortly after. They were under the blanket where they were not supposed to be. I went down. The old lady's and the teacher's wife was out with her baby. My friend came out, but since we had a fight in school, she just went back in and slept. I became alert like never before, my senses sharp as I strained to listen to my mother's and others' voices. Some college teachers, along with our school teachers, our principal and her son and my mother and dog all set out, and I had my eyes fixed onto their faraway shadows. I listened one time, they were near, the other time they weren't. I had my eyes on the road too. I had imagined on what should I do if this strange lady comes back. Should I first toss the older lady into the house and then hide? Suddenly, a shrill and moan cut through the lady's chattering voices. I froze. What happened? Then it came again, and again before it stopped. I waited, but there was no more. Then everyone came back. They were smiling. I rushed to greet my dog. He was a hero that day. Apparently, the lady was a psycho who could speak in a perfect language. Earlier that day at 6 p.m., when me, my dog, and my mother went out to throw out trash, we actually saw her sitting under a tree and staring at our school. Our gates closed before 6. Could it mean she has come in before 6 and hid somewhere we couldn't see? The lady cursed at my mother and the others as they all interrogated her. She only said that she was from a faraway place where we once lived. Then my mother was the first one with the sling of the stick she held. Came a sharp smack on the lady's leg, which, as I earlier said, of the sudden moan and scream. Then the others followed and they chased her away. My dog was running after her and he dragged my mother along as he grabbed onto his leash. But if you would think that it ended here, that we got peace and that she'd come back, never, it was wrong. She was back the next morning. I guess they're gonna leave us hanging until they tell that next story. Naughty Skinwalker. This is from Promethean Chaos. I don't believe in the supernatural. I grew up in a neo-pagan occultist. As well, when I was a teenager, I was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. I lead with this to give full context to what I'm about to relay here. I know that, in part due to my esoteric upbringing, my disorder, and a particularly vivid imagination, I am prone to have experience that I cannot explain. A long time ago, now I dove headfirst into empiricism, skepticism, and methodological naturalism, which has since become part of my management strategy. As a result, I have lived a fuller, happier, and much more stable life. I do not believe in the supernatural. When I was young, maybe around 8 or so, my sister and I were spending an evening playing Pokemon, if memory serves, watching the snow fall outside and sipping hot chocolate. We were in our bedroom that night as the snowstorm outside, though not violent, was bitter and her room had better heating than mine. It was winter break around solstice, a sacred time for those in the tradition I grew up in. So our father had allowed us to stay up late. The house we lived in was a 2-story single family with a modest backyard surrounded by a short chain-link fence that was lined with shrubbery on the exterior. My sister's room was on the 2nd floor and overlooked the backyard, whereas mine across the hall overlooked the front of the house. As we were playing, in which I was thoroughly winning, we heard movement above us. Footsteps that had a particular crack to their sound. The stride was long but not rushed. I had cracked wise something about Santa, though I can't remember the joke. But I do remember both of us getting very unnerved and having the idea to go outside to look at the roof. The footsteps sounded again, walking now towards the back of the house. My father, who had been downstairs watching probably something on the Sci-Fi channel, came upstairs and asked us if we had heard that. We said yes, and I had told him it sounded like hooves. Immediately, my father rushed to the window and closed the blinds and then gave us very specific instructions to not look outside, not go outside, do not open the windows, and do not open the doors. He then migrated us to the downstairs. Several hours later, I had woken up. Unlike my sister, I didn't like sleeping downstairs, so I gathered my blanket and headed up to my bedroom. It was bitterly cold in there, though my father had drawn the blinds around the entire house. He had forgotten my bedroom. My window overlooked a small section of roof above the front of the house. I approached the window intent on completing the work he hadn't. Then I stopped. There were indentations in the snow covering that section of the roof. I can't remember how many, but I remember counting. They were wide, semicircular, with a slight oval shape. They started at the furthest exterior and moved towards my window. I can't remember much, only that as I stood in the doorway, I became suddenly aware of how dark it was, how cold, and how badly I wanted to close the blinds but open the window. I was tough at that time, a very obedient child. I backed out of the doorway, shut my bedroom door, and went into my sister's room. It was less cold in there. I spread my blanket down near the radiator, and an urge, a thought. I felt compelled. I wanted so badly to go outside or to go downstairs and open the back door. If there was something out there in the backyard, it wanted me to open the door. I was afraid, but more afraid of my father and what he would do to me if he found out. But he wouldn't know if I just took a peek. I went over to my sister's window and drew down one of the slats of the blinds. The prints were in the backyard. They led from the house towards the fence and stopped at the bushes. In the bushes, it was crouching. It was crouching, but still its head poked above the bushes and fence. It watched me watch it. It was wearing a hood. Its face was long, too long, so long and white, as white as the snow, and I so badly wanted to open the window, to walk out into the snow. I closed the blinds, sat down next to the radiator. I think I cried myself to sleep. That was nearly 30 years ago. I do not believe in the supernatural, but I do love a good spooky story. It's part of my management strategy. As crazy as it sounds, the things I saw when I was a child before I understood my diagnosis are often more bizarre than modern creepypasta and the like, but horror has always been soothing to me. A way of dealing with the nightmares and hallucinations and bad memories. As fairly often I lurk about on the supernatural subs of Reddit, I consider them childish. Fun childish. Everything is a skinwalker. Everybody is living in a haunted house. Everybody is stalked by some demon. It's silly. Every bump in the night or unexplained yada yada is some great and terrible boogeyman. Occasionally, when I'm busy doing other things, read mostly playing video games, I'll put on one of those YouTubers that goes over Reddit creepypasta. I do not believe in the supernatural. After the story at 1905, I had to step away. I was prepared to laugh at another skinwalker story from some 12-year-old budding writer seeking updates from faceless strangers. I went to go speak with my SO, relate my story to her, starting with the same phrase I started this post with, one I have uttered a few times when my certainty wavers. I relate to her my story, then the story of the link above. She just, like I, has a pretty wide knowledge of mythology and folklore, etc. She had read a book series a long while ago, a fantasy horror based on Welsh myths, the section of folklore I am less read in. She says the stories remind her of. She goes and does a Google and opens up a wiki page and Mary Louise. It was wearing a hood. Its face was long, so white. I wanted so badly to open. This was only an hour or two ago. I had to have her close the page immediately. Had a pretty severe reaction. I'm better now. I don't believe in the supernatural. Okay, you said that. But crack. Alright. Ghost. This is by No Name Jane. This story isn't exactly scary, but more so made my skin crawl. My family had recently moved to a new home when this happened. We had just settled in. All of the bedrooms are upstairs, the kitchen and living room being downstairs. We were hanging out downstairs when I went up to grab something from my room. My parents' room is right next to the stairs, but in order to get to mine, you have to walk down the hallway more. Anyways, as I was reaching the top of the stairs, I heard what I thought was my stepdad changing his shirt with the door open. He breathes very heavy when he does so, and even though I did not see him, I thought nothing of it. I went back down the stairs less than a minute later, turned to look at the couch, and there he was, lying on the couch scrolling on his phone. This is probably the creepiest thing that has happened in that house, but it freaked me out for the next couple of days. Doppelganger much? Anyone have any true Halloween scary stories? Here. Uh-oh. Hold on. Okay, well, I'm not going there. Or there. Why? Okay. Benjamin5431 says, yeah, when I was around, excuse me, 10 years old in 2005, me and my two other friends were trick-or-treating in our neighborhood. We went to the local friend's house and see if they wanted to join, but they weren't home. Were likely trick-or-treating themselves somewhere else. Sorry, guys. The neighbor had a large backyard that looked out into the forested area. We had a flashlight because it was dark, and one of my friends said they saw something move in the woods and to shine the light at it. I thought he was just pulling me leg trying to scare me, but I shine my flashlight and sure enough I do see something moving, pretty deep in the woods. It was hard to make out what it was because all the trees and branches and bushes in the way. Then it started moving more and more. I looked. The better picture I got of what it looked. What? I looked at the better picture I got of what it looked at. Okay. Can't exactly explain this, but it almost looked like someone walking on long stilts. Like kind of, you see it at the circus or a parade, or like a giraffe with really tall legs. All I saw was the legs, long and thin, walking slowly through the woods. We stared at it in disbelief for maybe 20 seconds before we all simultaneously ran away screaming. All three of us saw it, whatever it was. The funny thing is, this was before Slender Man was a thing. I still don't know what it was. It had to be deer or something, but it looked so tall. So tall that I couldn't see the top of it through the tree branches and leaves, just the legs. It's possible my eyes were playing tricks on me, but all three of us described it the same way and we were all terrified. Never seen anything like it again since. Thanks, Benjamin5431. Dog Killer in the Forest by Sir Plomba. Tonight, my boyfriend and I were walking at about 8 p.m. We live atop a big hill at the edge of the city right next to the woods. As we went up the hill and along the street with no lights, we saw someone with a flashlight coming down a dirt path that's next to the road. Then, for no apparent reason, he turned around and went back into the forest. Nothing seemed weird to us yet, and we kept walking, but as cars drove by, we noticed something gray or white just outside the tree line. As we got closer, we heard the sound of a small dog being badly hurt or dying about 10 meters away from us. It seemed strange how the sound stopped after about 5 seconds, with complete silence after. This all took place in less than 2 minutes. We got scared and we walked down the hill to the closest place with streetlights and called a taxi. Tomorrow, my boyfriend will go to that spot to see if he can find anything out of place. So, did someone just kill a dog, or am I being paranoid? It's hard to say, really. Oh my goodness. Well, these are not the droids I was looking for. What? Sorry, some people are just really funny. True story, Haunted Inn. This is by Beautiful Dare 3984. A family is staying at an inn that was temporarily shut down to the public, and a friend brought along. The inn was isolated in the mountains, no neighbors. It was very old. Walking up to the building, you can sense that something's wrong. In the public areas of the inn, there are mirrors on the wall, and they are deeply unsettling even before you hear the stories. There was 2 of us in each room sleeping across the hallway from each other on the 2nd floor, nobody else. Several paces down the hall from us, there were stairs going up to a door and an unused attic loft area. It's rainy and cold outside. My roommate and I woke up seemingly randomly around the same time, and while going back to sleep, heard the footsteps on the wooden stairs going to the attic. It sounded like somebody was standing on the stairs, shifting their weight and otherwise moving slowly. It was so obviously a person that we weren't afraid. We thought it must be the owners decided to stay, but it was 2 a.m. or something. We laid there listening. When we heard the first voices, we just looked at each other with our mouths open. When we heard what sounded like kids singing outside, we started taking turns sitting up and looking at each other with our hands over our faces in an expression of, "Did you hear that?" Soon after, we got up and opened the door and prepared to find out what was going on. Across the hallway, people heard our door open and they also came out and were freaking out. Also, the attic door was open and something made a thump noise downstairs in the dark. We all slept in the same room. The attic door was still open in the morning, but I swear it was more open before. This was in a location where you were at the inn or you'd have to keep driving. It wasn't possible to pull over to the side of the road, so it would be noticeable in most realistic situations if other people were there for any reason. There just wasn't anybody there for miles. Historian Shishi asked, "What happened in the morning after? Did you ask the others or even the receptionist?" Beautiful Dare said there were no receptionists because the fam was friends, fam with the owners, and the place was temporarily closed. Those of us there definitely talked about it. We all had experiences with the mirrors, too. It was like the mirrors would suddenly beg to be stared at, as if something was there or going to be there looking back. They had a heavy pull to them. Yes, mirrors can be quite creepy, I must say so myself. I tell you what, on Sunday we're going back to some ghost stories and stuff, because none of this stuff has really been scary or creepy to me for the most part. Oh, wow. Okay, he came back wrong. Big Patient 5949. I first saw Reed in the hangar, cleaning his weapon while staring at the GoPro footage. On the screen it was him, but not. His eyes were glassy, like a looted storefront window. The camera shook. We could hear breathing, his breathing, heavy and wet. A knife in his hand, blood on the lens, someone screaming in Arabic, then a gurgle, then static, like the world had shut off. He watched that shit every night, alone, always with the same expression. I was only 3 weeks into the Sand Bastards unit, rotated in after getting injured in Karsak. Thought I'd seen it all after Mosul. But this base was different. Thick, sweet stench of rotting food and spilled diesel. Rats the size of ferrets, Syrian kids behind razor wire selling cigarettes and grenades, and Reed. Captain Reed was a legend. Unofficially, of course. Nobody liked him, but everyone listened. No one knew how he got his first injury. Some said he pulled his partner out of the burning Humvee. Others claimed he took out 30 hostiles from the mosque window. Some said he'd been in a coma and came back. He looked like a man who shouldn't have come back. He was missing a ring finger on his left hand, one ear was burnt down to the cartilage, and his stare like someone was always standing behind you. Like he wasn't just listening to you, but to something else just out of sight. Someone needs to reach the station, said Major Tomlin, hunched over a dusty tablet. Sweat dripped down his nose and didn't even have time to evaporate. It was too hot, too dry. Shadows twitched on the walls, thrown by the flickering generator. The comm station sat at the edge of the red zone where the patrol went missing 3 days ago. Officially, technical malfunction. Unofficially, untranslated voices on the channel, one of the soldiers whispered before the radio cut off. Something's crawling underground. I'll go, Reed said. No emotion, no hesitation, no sideways glance. We all looked at each other. Tomlin wanted to argue but didn't. Telling Reed not to go was like ordering a rifle not to shoot. It might stay silent, but it's off safety. Take someone with you, Tomlin finally said. No, I go alone. 25 minutes later, Reed stood at the base gates. He wore his old armor, the one from Iraq, patches, dark bloodstains, dirt baked into the straps, no gloves, and he held his M4 like it was just part of his body. I stood next to him and handed him a small radio. Channel 3 long range. If anything happens, double click. He nodded. What if I don't respond? Then we come after you. Don't, he said. It won't save anyone. And he left. 30 minutes later, the noise started. Not in the radio, in our heads. They called it psi radiation later, or the hollow skull hum. Some got migraines, some puked. One guy from Texas started sobbing and calling for his mom, shaking like he'd been electrocuted. Another's nose started bleeding. The radio was silent, then one click. 8 more minutes passed, and we heard a voice, but not his. Female, piercing, not calling, commanding, something between English, Arabic, and the sound of livestock being butchered. Reed said nothing. The line had a life of its own, static, breathing, like someone was stroking the mic with fingers slicked from grease and dust. Then I found them. When we reached the station at dawn, under black hot cover, Reed was inside, sitting on the floor, covered in blood. Corpses everywhere piled like trash, local insurgents, one American, and something we couldn't identify, skinless, breathing through its throat. Reed stared at nothing. His fingers were burned to the bone. On his shoulder, numbers carved deep with a knife. 2517. Later, we figured it out. A Bible verse. I will execute great vengeance upon them with furious rebukes. When we tried to pull him out, he resisted. His body twisted like something else was inside him, and he whispered. I was supposed to stay. It was so bright. Reed didn't speak for 3 days. We kept him in the med block, a concrete room with an AC unit that only worked at night. He didn't sleep, didn't eat, just sat there. At first we thought he'd gone deaf, then we realized he just wasn't listening to us anymore. On day 2, Dr. Martin tried to give him diazepam. Reed grabbed his throat and hissed. You can't sedate a voice. It's not in me. It's around me. After that, we locked the door and posted guards, but something had already started to change. Not in Reed, in us. Lieutenant Berg kept saying the walls were breathing. Mechanic Wells tore out his own fingernails. One of our Syrian that was so gross. Interpreters vanished. No trace. Security footage showed him walking into the showers, but he never came out. Then the Radio Shack melted. No fire, just plastic dripping metal blackened wires turned to ash. And that night, the alarms went off. Reed was gone. We found him in the morning at the old minaret by the ruins. No patrols went there. Cursed territory, full of mines, bones, and stories. He stood at the very top, arms spread like Jesus on the cross, drenched in blood. Not his sacrificial. At his feet, a circle of discarded items, dog tags, photos, Bible pages. He was singing, softly, beautifully. The voice wasn't his. And when we saw him, the whole world went quiet. No birds, no wind. Even the sand froze, like someone had hit pause on reality. And he said, I'm open now. The void can breathe. We fired, first into the air, then at him. Headshot, then chest, then neck. He still stood like a pillar. When he fell, the whole minaret came down with him. We never found the body. 8 months passed. The base was decommissioned officially. Decline in hostilities. Unofficially, some sounds you can't ignore. I'm in California now, motel room, can't sleep. Sometimes the radio picks up static. It sounds like his breathing. Sometimes the outlet hums like it's singing. I look in the mirror, and someone behind me nods approvingly. You'll open too, says a voice inside me. You heard it, didn't you? The way he sang. Hello Hangnail said, the true part means it's real. Entire Speech 5944 said, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Entire Speech 5944 also said, great story nonetheless. Which it was pretty well written. Pretty good at, creating pictures in one's mind. This one is by Horror Energy 798. I made up a ghost story to scare my mom. Turns out it wasn't fake at all. There are 5 of us in my family, mom, dad, my 2 sisters, and me. We were living in a rented house for a while, and ever since we moved there, I used to notice strange things whenever I was alone. Spoons or other kitchen utensils would suddenly fall, or clothes hanging on hangers would drop for no reason. My younger sister experienced this too, but my mom, dad, and elder sister never did. They just say it's nothing, or the wind, or my imagination, but I always felt like there was something around, like a quiet presence. Anyway, our rental agreement ended and we were shifting to a new place. I was at the office that day, so when I came home later, I decided to prank my mom. I told her, I used to see a woman in that old house. She was trying to harm me or anything, but she'd come near me, near my bed whenever I was alone. She even had a small boy with her. She'd just sit there quietly. I was literally laughing inside, waiting for her reaction, but my mom got pale and scared. She told me to wait. My elder sister was about to come home. I thought she was just overreacting, and I'd tell her it was a prank once my sister arrived. When my sister came home, my mom started crying and said, "Your brother also saw that woman." That word "also" made me freeze. I was confused and asked what she meant. Then my mom told me that my older sister had been seeing that same woman regularly, the one with the small baby, and when we decided to move out, the woman told my sister angrily, "Don't leave this house." I swear I got goosebumps. I told them I was joking, that I made it up just to prank her, but my mom didn't believe me. She thought I was pretending so she wouldn't worry. A few days later, my sister told us that while she was sleeping in our new house, she heard the same woman's voice again. The voice said, "Come meet me. I'm standing outside." She said she got up half asleep, walked to the window, and was about to open it, then suddenly woke up, terrified, realizing it was a dream. Or maybe not. And the weirdest part? The same kind of thing, spoons falling, clothes dropping, still happen in this new place too. Only me and my younger sister noticed them. At this point, I don't know if it was the house that was haunted or if something came with us. Excuse me. I tried to pause before that happened, but I wasn't quick enough. The sneeze was quicker. Man on My Car. This one is by Big J. The Big J, 1982. So, I used to work night shift at a fast food restaurant. I left work at 2 a.m. and I was driving home when a man jumped in front of my car, of which I drove a pickup truck. I quickly stopped and he jumped in the bed immediately and started slamming on the back window frantically while telling me drive. He seemed panicked. I drove fast and swerved a bit and eventually parked in front of a convenience store. At the time, I always kept a kukri and a metal pipe in my car. I got out with the kukri in hand. I told him to leave while threatening him with the kukri. He begged me to keep driving and I told him to leave again. He ran to the doors of the convenience store, but it was locked, as the clerk was in the restroom. Then he got in the back of what seemed to be a taxi in the parking lot and just sat there, frightened and full of adrenaline. I got in my truck and left. I don't know what was happening, but it seemed like he was running from someone. And scared shitless too, tell you what. The Devil's Light. This one is by Guitar Pretty 3369. As an adult, the story doesn't really scare me anymore, but I would be lying if I said it doesn't bug me to this day. Back in 2015, when I was about 10 years old, we had recently moved to a small suburban neighborhood where our new house was being constructed. My father was working in a different country, so my mom, my older sister, and I stayed in a rental that was in the same neighborhood until our home was ready. Truth be told, I never really liked the rented house. It wasn't creepy or anything, but it always seemed isolated. Nobody within a 2 or 3 house radius seemed to stay longer than a few months, and it never gave me the homely vibe. Something about the place just rubbed me the wrong way. Maybe I just missed my old neighborhood? Over the next few weeks, we did get adjusted to the house, and I didn't really mind it anymore. Being a duplex, a kitchen, dining room, and a living room downstairs and 3 bedrooms upstairs, if I yelled for my mom from the bedroom, she wouldn't be able to hear me if she was downstairs, so I was always cautious of being alone in any room. I know. I seem like a paranoid guy, but it was a new house and I watched too many horror movies. Coming to the incident. About 2 months in, during summer vacation, I invited 3 of my close friends for a sleepover. We had fun all day, and I decided to end the night with a horror movie. Ouija 2014 to be specific. We turned off all the lights, drew all the curtains, pulled an old mattress onto the floor, and played the movie. My sister and mom had gone to bed an hour ago. If you watched the movie, you would know that in the beginning itself, there is a scene where the sister of the protagonist is home alone when the power goes out and only a single light flickers. A few seconds later, she is possessed by an evil spirit and kills herself. Not exactly the Starry Night of horror films, but hey, we were kids. Now, I shit you not, and I can have the other 3 guys attest to this as well. As soon as that scene ended, the power went out, and the whole house turned pitch black at 1 a.m. in the morning. Ooh, scary, right? I bet we could make a movie out of this. Anyways, we found it funny. Hilarious, actually. Power cuts, although infrequent, were not uncommon in the neighborhood, so guys being guys, we burst out laughing. We tried scaring each other by grabbing at each other's arms in the dark, but not a moment later, our hearts dropped. I still remember that sound. The sound of an old fluorescent light bulb slowly coming to life from behind us. My friends were scared, but I was terrified. I remember that light bulb. We had a handyman come check it out, and he said that when the entire wiring of the house was redone, they never bothered connecting this bulb back to the circuit. Wasn't really required anymore, so they cut it off. The handyman claimed before moving on to the next room. And since we were just short-term tenants, we didn't really bother with it either. So there we were, in a pitch-black house with just a single light bulb flickering, just like in the movie. A second passed and then another one. No one could move. No one could speak. It was dead silent. And then finally we screamed a scream that ripped through the silence of that night. My mom and sister, bewildered, came racing down the stairs. They were asleep but heard us. Our neighbors would have heard us too if we had any. By the time they reached the living room, we were running away as far away as we could get from the light. I needed to get out, away from the light, away from the house. I lunged at the main door and had just cracked it open when my mom came up from behind and slammed it shut. She was pissed. If my friends weren't there, I would definitely have gotten a smack across the face. It took a while, but the power finally came back. Once my sister managed to calm us down, we went to the dining room and explained everything to the last detail. My mom just stared back at us, dumbfounded. She did see the light flickering, but assumed it was a prank by one of us. Boys being boys. The light had never worked before, even when there was power. Yet, somehow, both of them thought we had something to do with the flickering light. After an hour of arguing, we decided to give up and just went back to our rooms to sleep. None of my friends spoke through the night. We were all wide awake, but too afraid to speak. After what felt like an eternity, morning came and my friends' parents were back to pick them up. We said our customary goodbyes and they left, leaving me alone, the only person left in the house who knew something was wrong with the house. Days passed. I was still pretty shook up and stopped going to the living room by myself. Eventually, you do learn to move on, but then it happened again. While my sister and I were at the local market, my mom was alone at home when the power went out again, and the light, it came to life again, flickering just like that day. My mother, being the devout Christian she is, thought it was a miracle. She called it God's light since it provided light within the darkness. She would claim that there was a presence protecting us, but I refused to believe that. My sister too refused to believe that, but that was only because she still thought I had something to do with it. Anyways, over the year, we had our share of power cuts, and every single time that little bulb would come to life in the darkness. And it started from the night I had my sleepover. It started with that very scene in the movie. My friends never came over again. I knew better than to ask them. Everyone we told brushed it off as a prank, but my mom continued to believe it represented something divine. I knew better. There was something off about that house. Something within it was mocking me every time that light would illuminate. Whatever caused it may not necessarily be evil, but whatever it was had no business being there. Once the new house was finished, I put the entire incident behind me. Some of the guys from that night would find it and bring it up once in a while, but the conversation would always end in an uncomfortable silence. Over the next few years, my friends and I went our separate ways, separate paths, and then finally left for college. I haven't spoken to them in years, but I know that they remember that night. They felt what I felt. I just graduated college a few days ago and was back home when I decided to go for a walk. I came across the old house, the same as it was 10 years ago. It looked like someone was living there, but I wouldn't dare go back inside. When you know, you know. Sorry guys, I'm trying to find another one. The House of 1,000 Horrors. Miss Suicide Sheep 666. I was only 8 years old, and I have lived in haunted houses my entire childhood. None that have traumatized me like this one. My family and I lived in a fairly big house just outside of Temecula, California. And that house had a dark, evil energy. I dreaded coming home every day from elementary school, and I especially dreaded nighttime. That's when everything obviously got worse. We were a small nuclear family. It was just me, my mother, little brother Xander, and Marine father who was usually gone in Afghanistan or Iraq. Whatever was in that house loved when my father left. The activity got 10 times worse, and it loved to toy with me and my little brother. When we first moved in, it wasn't so bad. Toys going off on their own, unexplained noises in the attic, things that could be brushed off, until one night. My little brother was still a baby, maybe around 2 or 3 years old at the time, still crib-bound. My mom, sleeping in her bed, woke to hear some weird noises coming from the baby monitor in the middle of the night. She described it as loud static and then a man's deep, disembodied voice talking over the monitor. My mom immediately jumped out of bed, rushing over to my baby brother's room. She burst through the door only to see a shadowy, like being floating in front of his crib, staring down at him. As quickly as she entered, the shadow flies backward into the open closet at lightning speed, slamming the door shut, causing a hanger to fall down onto the floor outside of the closet. I can't imagine the fear my mom felt after seeing that, but I know she ended up moving Xander's crib to her room immediately. This was just after my dad left for Afghanistan, so obviously the activity would get worse from here on out. And the activity certainly didn't only extend to my baby brother, but whatever this energy was, a certain fascination with him. Anyway, we ended up getting a 3-month-old yellow Labrador named Berkeley. My mom knew we didn't feel safe, neither did she, so maybe having a little protector would put us at ease. If you ever have anything like that and you think a pet will protect you, always get a cat. They chase off the scary stuff. Berkeley was a friendly dog. He was always extremely gentle with small kids and animals, even when my baby brother would pull on his tail. Rest in peace, Berkeley. So when I look back on around the time when we first brought him home, his teeth bared, snarling, growling, and barking at an empty corner of the playroom, something I've never seen him do in his 15 years of life since, let alone as a puppy. My 8-year-old self knew there was something dark in this house that Berkeley could see, and so could my baby brother. And that brings us to Thanksgiving. We invited all of our extended family and ate together at the long dining table. We all sat together chatting, oblivious, till my baby brother comes running out of the playroom, pale, crying. My mom picks him up and sits him on her lap. She and the rest of the family try to ask him what is wrong, but he can barely speak. All he does is point, his little shaky finger moving slowly across the dining room, as if there was someone walking across the room. The rest of the family laughed it off, trying to console him and put him at ease, but I knew. I'm pretty sure my mom knew too, that he was seeing something that we couldn't see. A little bit after Thanksgiving, another incident with my brother happens. While I was upstairs, he lets out a blood-curdling scream and runs out of the playroom to my mom's arms while she's on the couch. I immediately come downstairs to see what's happened. We've never seen him so scared. My mom tries to soothe him and ask what happened, but all he says is that the man grabbed him by his arms and tried to pull him into the toy box with him. My mom and I were terrified to hear this. After all we've seen and heard, we 100% believed him. Xander refused to go into his toy box again, so we took out all of his toys and laid them on the ground outside of it. Only minutes later, I was sitting in the dining room on my family computer playing Build-A-Bear, trying to distract myself from the event that just unfolded. And then my mom, with widened eyes, looks over at me from the couch. Lexi, she whispers firmly, fear in her voice. I snap my head up to see the Christmas chain I made at school, hanging on the wall just beside the TV being lifted up from the bottom chain. This wasn't a draft of wind. Something was holding the paper chain up by the tail end. It began to move around in an odd way, something bending it around. It then yanks hard on it, pulling the chain down entirely off the wall and onto the floor. There was absolutely no denying it now. There is an energy or energies in this house. My entire family was so afraid of nighttime. Me, my mom, dog, the baby brother all slept in her room every single night with the door locked. Night times when the heavy footsteps would follow up the stairs, pots and pans would be played with, toys would go off when they weren't supposed to, sometimes saying things they weren't supposed to say. In the attic. Oh my god, the fucking attic. It was like the motherfuckers were having a party up there, stomping around at 3 a.m., not to mention waking up the next morning to find pots and pans scattered all over the floor. It's like whatever this was enjoyed chaos and our fear. That's when my mother gave me wise advice at such a young age that I still use to this day. Do not show it fear no matter what. It feeds off of it. And you can take that to the grave, because that's true. One day I was feeling brave. I was going to go into my own room for once in the middle of the day and lock the door. I was going to take my mom's advice. Fuck this ghost. I click the door shut and lock it. I climbed up the ladder to my singular bunk bed with space underneath it and made a circle of stuffed animals around me. I'm telling you, the minute I settled down into my bed, "Hi," says a very high-pitched childlike voice coming from the space below my bed. It spoke to me. It spoke directly to me. I froze. I felt my heartbeat in my throat. It didn't sound like a child. It sounded like an adult mimicking a child's voice. I wanted to scream so badly, but I remembered my mom's advice, so I slowly but shakily began climbing down the ladder. My entire body felt like jello. "What did you just say?" I asked nervously, trying to hide my fear. It didn't respond. I ran to my door, shaky hands fumbling with the lock, and got the hell out of there. No matter where I went, no matter what time of day, I was constantly on alert for the next thing that would happen. Some nights, I'd be too scared to sleep. My mom made the mistake of accidentally falling asleep on the couch watching TV while the rest of us were sleeping in her room as usual. Then my mom wakes up to all the toys simultaneously going off. She tries to brush it off, ignore it, maybe it will go away. Nope. It needed her attention. A couple seconds later, she can hear the pitter-patter of bare feet running across the tile, and then boom, like someone pounded their fists on the sliding door as hard as they could. She quickly rises up and sees the blinds are bent and twisted and immediately calls the police. The police come around 2 or 3 a.m., flashlights searching every inch of the house, including the attic. No intruders. My mom had enough. So she turns to a priest and has him come to our home. Unfortunately, that didn't work. One day after school, I see her light white candles in every single room of the house, smiling and dancing. He told me to join her, that our good energy was supposed to counteract the bad. I did so, thinking of all the happy thoughts I could as I danced in each room. That didn't work either. All we could do was just wait. Wait for my dad to come back while every family member that stayed the night left feeling disturbed. My father finally arrived home, I think about 8 months later. The activity dialed down a bit, but didn't dissipate. He was a firm believer in ghosts, but after returning home, even he admitted that the things he saw happening left him feeling stumped and unsettled. We lived in that house for 2 whole years. 2 years of horror movie-like activity. 2 years of my nervous system being on high alert 24/7. I was relieved when he finally got stationed to Fort Leonard Wood. We could finally leave this place. As my mom was doing some packing, she could hear what sounded like a mother scolding her child in the walkway. That's why we believe there was multiple entities. Regardless, she prayed they didn't follow us, and they didn't. But that didn't mean we were safe from the spirits of our next home, far from it. Holy shnikes, guys. That's the end of that. Holy crap, I can't believe it's the end of our time together. Thank you guys once again for hanging out with me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tomorrow night, it's going to be trippy TikToks with me, TessaTNT. So I hope you guys show up for that. It's going to be live on YouTube. But night, live and light, take care of my yous, and I will see you back here, same crazy time, same crazy place.